Hey, what is up, Moody?
What's up? What's up?
We are one episode away in double digits. 10 weeks. 10 consecutive weeks. We're a week away. Can we do it? Or are we gonna find a way to BS and not do it?
Yeah, just fuck up at the finish line.
Yeah.
Like
Like
right there, the stumble.
I'm lazy.
No, we're good. We're good. I mean, barring like any unforeseen future events, obviously, but
Yeah.
we straight.
We gotta definitely come up with those not makeup episodes, but I guess pocket episodes where it's like, here's something that we had in the bag that
Oh
we didn't
yeah.
release that we are releasing now because we're on an off week. But we'll figure that out when the time comes, whenever that comes. But we got another pop-up week. It's a busy week. But like we always do, let's start off with our Sunday's Percy's.
I know.
And
I know
go
you want
ahead.
to talk about this. This is equal. Like so, it's just the NFL season opener,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
specifically, I mean, because obviously that's just a Percy by itself. Ravens versus
yeah.
Chiefs. It was a great game, all that stuff. But just my specific thing, I got Lamar Jackson on fantasy, so I wrote Action Jackson did not disappoint. I could have took another touchdown, when he missed
Yeah.
Zay in the back of the end zone. But like even Isaiah Likely, that play at the end, and everybody this whole week, has been making the KD comparison because that's exactly what you think of. It was like, bruh, heartbreaking, but it was a great game.
Yeah,
I had
that
40
game was
fantasy points.
heartbreaking.
40
Wait,
fantasy
how much
points open
for just Lamar?
for just Lamar. Just Lamar at 40. He went. I
You
wrote
don't
it
have Lamar in our league, do you?
down. No, not in ours.
Okay. I
No,
was
no.
gonna say.
I got Joe Burrow in ours. But yeah, 26 for 41, 273, a touchdown, no picks, 15 rushes, 122 yards.
Yeah.
Mm,
That's
yeah.
the thing with fantasy is you're like for the fantasy aspect, I'll take it. When you watch the game, I
Yeah.
was like, man, Baltimore, I don't know how sustainable this offense is. Especially with as much Lamar was running
Hmm.
that game. But I remember in my one of my other leagues, not the league that we're in right now, but my Yahoo league, I only had one tight end on my roster, and I had an open roster slot. And so
Okay.
I was like, "Oh, let me look up if Isaiah Likely is available," right? Sure
Hell
enough,
no. He was?
he was still available. And so
What? Oh my God.
I picked and I picked him up in the middle of the game.
Oh my gosh.
I
No,
can't
that don't make
obviously I
no
couldn't
sense.
obviously I couldn't start him. I couldn't play him or anything like that,
Oh,
but
okay. All right. I was
I
about to
was like
say,
I was like, let me. I still need I need a backup because my starting tight end on that side is not Dalton Kincaid, Dalton Schultz
yeah,
from the
okay.
Texans. And so I was
Hmm.
like, all right, maybe, but if Isaiah Likely is gonna be getting these targets, we might
Bro,
have a little backup. We might have a
I'm
little
saying.
backup that might take the spot. And I got TJ Hawkinson on IR, so I got some strategy to the tight end position. But I mean,
Yeah.
I don't want to belabor the point. This will be like you said, it's probably my Percy, and I don't want it to be my Percy for the entire fall and winter season because it would just be too easy. But
True. Yeah.
we get into when we get into football season, days like today, like a Saturday, any Saturday specifically, I just wish we could just press the fast forward button.
Yeah.
I
With the
really wish.
exception of at least it's a weekend. I mean, it's still a weekend day. So, like, I
Uh,
understand what you mean. I'm
uh,
taking the weekend.
I get it, but that's how consumed I am with football that I'm like,
So would
especially
you shorten? This is a real question.
even tonight when we're gonna go see Roy Woods, I'm like, all right, I'm really hyped to see Roy Woods, but I cannot wait to go to sleep tonight and wake up to watch my Commanders tomorrow.
All right. So here's a real question. Would you shorten the week or the weekend for, I guess, an extra day of football? Would you like, let's say Saturday is a work day, like all of a sudden in American culture, but we get like 2 days of football, Saturday and Sunday.
NFL
Yeah,
football?
yeah, NFL football. See,
How many
that's a good
games?
question.
How many games? How many games? If it's like a one game, ah, yeah,
No, I'm
give it to me.
saying,
Give it to me. Ah, fuck it,
see,
give it
see,
to
I thought that was a good question. I knew he was going to take that. He was like, I'll work an extra
me.
day. We get more football. That's crazy. Nah, I'm not
I said
taking that. I'm taking my weekend.
it's wild, man. It's wild. That's where I'm like, I when it comes to the football season, I'm just like, can we pass Saturday? Can we just hurry up? Even with college football, I'm like, I enjoy it. I'll sit there and I'll watch it. I'll even get invested into some of these games. Hurry this day up. Hurry it up. Wrap it up, B. Wrap it up.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, wrap it up, box. Hey, wrap that shit
so
up.
So that's my Percy for as well. So I'm gonna try to be creative next week and not try to like I said, I don't want to have this whole fall season just be me starting the show off with football talk, but it probably
Well, no,
will.
I thought it was appropriate. It's the season opener. You know what I'm
It's the
saying?
season.
So
No,
it's like,
I'm just trying to
yeah,
make sure that like I don't exhaust the point of football. I'm trying to diversify our Percy's here, man. It can't just be a quick 30-minute conversation about football like every week. But we'll
yeah.
get into that and much more. Do you have anything more on the Percy's?
Nah, I mean, I'll do the same once NBA season comes around. I'll hold back.
All right. All right, let's start the show.
Doors opening, step back to allow customers to exit.
Through the crowd, the Habasha Hayes, Samson.
The fresh fried throw, Moody, off the top rope. This is the Wrestling Re-Up podcast.
Equally roll through the avenue of wrestling. I'm gonna pick up, y'all. A lot. What's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode 9 of the Wrestling Re-Up podcast. My name is Samson, the Habasha Hayes, and I'm here with my tag team partner.
Moody, the French fried throw. What's up with y'all?
And we got our third pop-up week in a row. Who said wrestling in the summertime was the dog days? Or maybe it was for majority of it, but like this last 3-4 weeks have just been exhausting. I thought we were done. And then I was listening to like one of the wrestling podcasts that we listen to, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we got All Out this weekend." I was like, "You're damn right, we
Yeah.
do." God damn, I thought this was an easy week. Nope, it's another pop up show week. But Moody, let everyone know where people can find us.
Oh yeah, we got a link tree, but the link tree is at the Wrestling Re-Up. Basically on all socials, we're at the Wrestling Re-Up on Instagram, on TikTok, and you can also send us an email at the Wrestling Re-Up at Gmail.
That's 3. We need to add the Twitter still.
Yeah, you're right. That link tree up though.
We're
Don't
again,
get the Twitch rolling too.
we are a 2-person operation. So
Absolutely.
mind us if it takes us some time to get our sea legs under us. But nonetheless, reach out to us and like and subscribe and comment. We already have another 2 people watching us live. Activist Prism, and then the other person, we're not sure, but thank you for joining us here on another week of the Wrestling Re-Up podcast. We have a lot of stuff to get through, so let's see if we can make a respectable time this week instead of going the ultra long of 2 hours and 40 minutes last week. So let's just get into recapping what happened in last week's pop-up shows. And let's start with Bash in Berlin in Germany. Pretty good show. Pretty good show. I'm officially 0-3 as of Bash in Berlin on our card predictions. I'm struggling here. And we only had one difference in opinion?
Yeah, very true. I went with
the Judgment Day. I picked the Judgment Day to beat the Terror Twins, but other than that, like I still lost. So I'll let you start off.
Not to mention, I mean, we ain't gonna get there yet, but after the show, I remember texting you and being like, you was like, "I'm gonna get my dub." I was like, "You'll get the dub tomorrow, though," or you said you were gonna get the dub the next day.
Yeah,
that didn't happen either. But Bash in Berlin, I mean, even still, only 5 matches on the card. You know, very predictable. Obviously, even you still got 4 out of the 5. So come on, that's still a passing grade. You know what I mean? We know what it is. I think, since it is so simple, let's just condense this. We'll just go top down. Cody versus Kevin. We knew there was no chance Cody was losing the title, right? I mean, we said that
Yeah.
beforehand, but
Yeah.
I just thought it was interesting. I know we said on the last episode of like, you brought up the point of like they're just doing the same thing or the same kind of booking as like Seth and Shinsuke last year, and
Yeah.
just saying, "Oh, I know about your knee and stuff like this," and it was, I would say, because it was predictable. It was in my mids. It's like mid stable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It was a fine match. Like you got the point across for the main event of a pay per view.
Oh yeah. I mean, I think overall, again, I think we knew the overall outcome would be Cody retaining. It didn't really seem much of a chance that could actually dethrone Cody. But what I liked about this match and why I had it in primo, and it also ties in with the kind of Gunther decisive win over Randy, was kind of the same thing that we said about with Randy against Gunther, right? It was that Gunther was probably going to beat Randy, but what this was going to do with Randy was that it was going to put some fire back into him that, we might get a little bit of the old Randy back, the little bit more of the conniving Randy. And I think with Kevin, I didn't really put any thought into this up until like we were getting to this match, but I did like the fact that Michael Cole on commentary was really putting over the fact that like Kevin Owens may have lost his edge and like he needs to find his edge. And I like the whole aspect of Kevin not wanting to attack Cody's injured leg.
Yeah,
And the whole expectation was Kevin's gonna turn, Kevin's gonna turn, Kevin's gonna turn. And he didn't. And it was a clean match. It ended, Kevin lost clean. And he had all the opportunity to take advantage of Cody's injury, but didn't. And so it feels like Kevin and Randy gonna find some of that viciousness that they once had. You can kind of argue both of those characters, since they've been face, have been kind of neutered as far
no,
as what they
definitely.
once were. And so I do think, especially with the transition going on to, different networks and, being a little bit more freer in a certain sense, that I think we're gonna get a little bit more of a anti-hero-ness from Kevin Owens. And I think Randy might go back to his old school, like, legacy days. Like I think Randy might be very desperate to beat Rick and John
Yeah,
for the most title reigns. So that's why I had that in primo. And I also had Gunther winning over Randy decisively as also a primo. Because again, I didn't expect Randy to actually just get choked out.
yeah, right. I mean, that's all. That
Like,
always. I
that's
think a
pretty
submission.
that's as pretty as decisive as you can get is like,
Yeah,
oh, this man choked even if he didn't put his hand out, like there's nothing you can say to be like, yeah, I want my lick back.
yeah, exactly. No, I beat you,
Yeah.
and it's in the same vein as like Stone Cold passing out in the sharpshooter. So it
Yeah.
is. It is kind of like kind of a going out on your shield as a warrior, kind of thing as a character because I think that's his like 14-time championship, showing up basically not allowing him to like tap out really, but
Yeah.
same thing. I had it as primo also. Uh, like that segue. Um, what else can I say about this match? I mean, I don't want to belabor this point either, but like Gunther is known for his chops, and I would have liked to see more of him. That's about it. Because I was like, I know he could have busted Randy's chest open like anytime somebody's going in the ring with him. It's just like by the time you get near the end of the match, like that becomes a signature move. That's not just a basic, strike. Like he's pinned people with chops before,
Yeah.
and it's believable. So that did cross my mind too. Just like as you were talking about, choking him out. It's like
Mhm.
if you get put down by a chop, it's like, oh yeah, you're out of gas, dog. Like you're done.
But I mean, again, great match. I did like the fact that we had Ludwig do his introduction.
Yeah,
I was like, yeah, sorry, Samantha. I love you, Samantha, but in the very small cases, there's only two cases where I could think that like somebody else needs to do the introduction besides Samantha, and it's Gunther and it's Paul Heyman.
Yeah.
Those are the only 2 times where I'm like, you got to pass the mic up.
Yeah.
But
I agree
I
with
mean,
that.
again, overall, like again, that was the most surprising thing was just seeing Randy just getting submitted out. I think it makes Gunther look more like again like a real champion. Like obviously we knew from again from a smart wrestling fan perspective that Randy was not going to win this. But again, a lot of it goes to how well do you tell the story and where do we kind of come out of this. And I do think
Mhm.
having Randy being choked out by Gunther, it I think we're about to see an old school Randy Orton. I
I'm
think
for it.
this man is going to be super desperate to win this title. And right now, if I'm Cody, I gotta look over both shoulders between Kevin and Randy because both those dudes are hungry.
Yeah. I mean, do you think Randy's going to come back to SmackDown?
He has to. He's a SmackDown guy,
I
technically.
mean, I know. Yeah, I get that. I understand that it was just like a kind of a perfect, you know, like left turn, to pick up Randy on SmackDown and use him as the first challenger because
Yeah,
obviously he is so established and everything. But I was just thinking about that because it's like, all right, well, we did pick him up
I
for a
think I
cycle,
think
so
like you said, it was a nice easy cleanup because of what happened at King of the Ring.
yeah,
That is like, oh, okay, like we don't have to throw Randy into Cody immediately. We can have him go against Gunther because clearly we had some, not shenanigans, but mishaps that happened earlier that, you know, we could again, it goes to a credit of like how better written some of these storylines have been
mhm,
since Triple H has taken over because a lot of this would have just been, oh yeah, like whatever, like history doesn't matter here in the WWE. You know what I'm
exactly,
saying?
yeah,
So the fact that it does and we're still able to kind of connect it and who's to say that we're right and what's going to happen, but it does give you some logical steps to saying that like I can see how Randy can get from point A to point Z, right? The same thing with Kevin. Like I can see where he is right now and when he ends up finally getting that heel turn, it's not going to just be like, "Oh, Kevin just being Kevin." It's going to actually have some weight to it because Kevin is going to be like, "Nah, I'm not the same guy that I once was before."
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, has he ever won past the first time the Universal Championship or like any
Um,
kind of like top
no,
tier card the
no,
title? No. So
not
he
that.
only won that one time and that's it.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
When he was like corporate Kevin, and he was coming out there in a suit and shit for
So
that little bit.
I mean, that's there's definitely storyline for both Kevin and Cody to go beyond there, beyond that. I'm just your friend, and I deserve this opportunity here. So I think there's some more meat to the bone here on both these sides.
Yeah. Next up, my only other primo I had was CM Punk and Drew McIntyre.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
granted, I do like think it's so janky, like the strap match, just seeing the
mhm.
light and everything. But as far as the quality of the match, and we know this rivalry, it's exactly where it has been the entire year, which is great.
Yeah,
And for CM Punk to like what hit 4 GTSs in a row to just end the match and take the friendship bracelet or the love bracelet back off of Drew's wrist um was great, and it was appropriate next step. We both got that one right.
yeah. I had this at mid just because again I think we kind of figured that CM Punk had to get his lick back,
Mhm.
and get the win. Now they're tied up 1-1 heading into what potentially seems like a Hell in a Cell match at Bad Blood. The reason I had this in mid was, again, I think the match quality is a primo in itself. It's just more so it's like, what next? Like, how long can we go with this?
Yeah,
That's
I think
and this is before what happened on Mondays, but like my thought is just like, how do we elevate this even more?
yeah,
So
because
that's where I left it at mid.
I know that I like that question just because like how far can we go with this? And like I remember like one of the top comments on like one of the videos or the highlight videos of this match was like, this friendship bracelet had a better pay-per-view run than Ryback. Like all this, and it was like, but I want to point out like the importance of like once again Triple H's booking. More credit to him. It's just that he understands that people or the wrestlers, the characters need things to fight for. You know what I'm saying? It's like when you have that, like basically, I see like Roman's championship reign as like kind of a generational reset. You know, because you're not going to see that again, right? But since that point, we've got the Ula Fala, which I'm perfectly fine. I know I brought that up before. It's like we understand because before it was confusing that the tribal chief was, you thought it was tied up with the title, you know what I mean? And then he actually gets the Ula Fala from his father. And when Solo takes it, and now we have that context of like, oh, okay, this is the only thing that actually matters in our family. The championship was just another sign of his dominance, basically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And we just did the same thing with this damn friendship bracelet. So that's the stuff that it can be a silly story like that, but that's the stuff that keeps people going, you know, and that's the stuff for me as a fan that I'm like, yeah, it's silly, but like, just go along for the ride. It's a soap opera, you know? So
exactly. Like I don't think the bracelet carries the same weight as the Ula Fala.
No, just making a parallel.
I get the
it's just a
sentiment
prop.
behind it. Yeah, I
Yeah,
get
it's
the
just a prop.
sentiment behind it. So, I just wonder. It's like because again, being the smart wrestling fan, it's like how much is just of this rivalry is stalling. Like part of it is like, yes, there's money that could be made here, and Drew and CM Punk probably don't really like each other in real life to a certain degree, right? But like, it's supposed to be Seth versus CM Punk, right? And it's like CM Punk gets hurt. All right, cool. We got to move Seth to something else. Then Punk comes back. Then Seth Rollins gets hurt, and it's like, all right, like they've been able to do a good job for we're going on now 9 months, 10 months possibly with Drew versus CM Punk. I'm just like, is this a year worthy of a feud, or are we just kind of like, you know, I'm just curious to see like how much juice does this have? Like if we're Paul Heyman, like what inning are we in?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I would say I couldn't tell you just because like even the first half of Drew versus CM Punk was on the shelf. You know, it was just them talking shit back and forth. So even by the time we got to the end of that before SummerSlam, we're like, all right, I hope this holds up. Are we gonna like we were already like, all right, how much longer can you stretch this out without these guys, actually coming to blows? So I mean, I'd say we're as good as Tony. We're not as good as Triple H. So he can get some more meat off that bone if he wanted to after Bad Blood. I would think, it's the rubber match. And traditionally, that sets them on different paths. Like whoever wins is going to become like number one contender, and not to skip to Raw, but CM Punk already threw his name in the ring.
Through the rumor mill that CM Punk is possibly being looked at to maybe face off Cody or maybe Gunther at Survivor Series.
Yeah.
So who's to say? I mean, again, you would think that like if Bad Blood, if we're predicting to be the Hell in a Cell match between Drew and CM Punk, that's got to be the 9th inning.
Yeah, for this chapter
that's
of the
inning,
story.
bottom 2 outs. Yeah, that's ninth inning, bottom 9th, 2 outs. Like we got one more out to go.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that. Yeah, they should separate after this next pay-per-view for sure, at least for a while.
But overall, like I said, the match itself was good. The reason I had it mid was because I'm like, where do we go from here? And we'll talk about that when we get into Raw. The other two things that we had on our card as mids was you correctly predicted the Terror Twins beating the Judgment Day. And we also had the Power Buff Girls becoming 2 times women's tag team champions. And we're going to trademark that.
Yeah.
We're going to trademark that because they're going to be coming after it. They'll be like, oh,
yeah,
snap.
It's a good name.
The other person that's listening right now, number 2, is someone from WWE.
Yeah. Or, hey, we've shouted the Ringer out, the Ringer wrestling. So maybe Hughes is listening right now. I can believe that.
But which one do you want to start off with?
Bianca and Jade. I well, obvious. I don't want to just say saw it coming. It makes it sound easy, but like, the champions
You
just
saw the
didn't look.
whole car coming. You were 5-0.
Well, yeah, but specifically in this match, the unholy union weren't booked strong at all. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and also when it comes to their star, I mean, first off, after they won the championships, we didn't even see them for a month, and then it came to like, we know that they got the hometown win, which I wasn't expecting, but I think it was another one of those cases where it's kind of like, like DIY, like they just had the championship belts for a month, and it's just for us to get used to seeing them with the championship belts.
I think so as well. And I honestly to say, I think while their run is not going to be anything memorable, in the long term, I think it did its job for me. I'm like, okay, Unholy Union is a legit tag team. Like there's
Yeah.
something there that I'm like, yeah, like y'all can have some staying power. And so I like their move set. I like I like their gimmick, like everything that just the essence of when they're coming out. It just feels really good.
Mm-hmm.
And I really vibe with it. So I do think that they are going to be something to be maybe not reckoned with, but they're definitely going to be someone that we're going to have to be like considered as one of the top contenders within the tag team division. And again,
Right.
like we're moving on to a different show. SmackDown just finished up on Fox after 5 years. Raw is going to be leaving USA to go to Netflix in a few months. NXT is going to be smooching over to CW. So a lot of it is just getting things in order,
Yeah.
so it prepares you for the move.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
But I do like Unholy Union. I do
Yeah.
think that they I think the DIY comparison is a fair one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd like to say that. I mean, because it is, or not say that, but agree with you in the sense of like they're at least going to be top contenders. Because as you were thinking that, I'm like, well, the women's tag team titles are across all shows,
Mm-hmm.
so that number came to me like top 4. I can see them top 4 tag team. That you think about. So that would be considered a serious contender, I would say.
I would put them in the power rankings. I would put them. No, I would say they're 2.
Yeah.
Because like the only other team I would probably put up there would probably be like maybe Naya
And
and
Tiffany.
Tiffany Stratton, but that's relying that they actually have some type of, they don't beef with each other
Yeah.
because of whatever reason. Maybe Damage Control, but I would take Unholy Union over Damage Control. So like
Yeah.
it's an interesting. I think they're no slouches. There are no
Yeah.
slouches, and I think they'll definitely be someone that we would be looking to take serious in the future. Terror Twins, Judgment Day. I tried to. I picked the Judgment Day because I'm like, there's a little bit more meat on the bones for the Judgment Day to kind of like mess with the Terror Twins, and plus, I just needed to find the differentiating pick that I can get the win, and
Yeah.
I didn't. So overall, the match was great. It was entertaining. I had to submit just because, again, like we're just continuing. It's like how much,
Continuing.
how long is the Judgment Day and the Terror Twins going to feud?
Yeah, it's a good
It feels
story.
like
It's
they're
just
in their
like,
own bubble.
yeah, they're just simmering in the pot. Their heat got turned down a little bit. That's all.
Yeah,
But it's like, it is still one of the, I mean, I guess, yeah, best long-term stories that they got going right now. Like, I would say it's Bloodline and Judgment Day are like the
yeah.
2 best, like, long-term. And then Cody, I guess, rolling his story over into him being champion. But that would be it. So, yeah, I like them doing the spot of, Rhea getting Dominic up for, Riptide. We know that's coming.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So, and then I did see it was one of the YouTube channels that I follow. Like, he just does posts, like, he doesn't actually post videos. But it was like some stat about like how nobody's ever kicked out of Rhea's. There's a niche. She calls it she has a specific name for the pin after the riptide, like when she just
like
folds
the
the
pretzel pin or something like that.
the
Yeah.
pretzel pin. There you go. Yeah, like nobody's ever kicked out of her pretzel pin, and I'm like, that's interesting stuff. Just little nuggets to keep track of.
Is it the pin or is it? But it's not the pin. It's the
I guess it is the
it's the
pin because people have
riptide.
kicked out of the riptide. People have kicked out of the riptide before when she
Sure.
goes to our normal pin. So that's the show of dominance.
I'm gonna believe the person because I'm gonna assume that he did the tape watching and
Exactly. I did not do it. It was just a post. So I'm like, just bringing it to the table. But that's all I have.
But yeah, I mean, like again, it's the same thing with the Punk and Drew McIntyre. It's like I just want to see how, like, at some point, I just hope that they kind of like not get over it, but kind of where Dominic is at with Rey Mysterio. It's always going to be an issue. It's always going to be a feud that's always happening underlying with Dominic's character, but he can do other things.
Yeah.
And not have to. It doesn't always have to be tied to Ray. And then the one happen chance that Ray is in a backstage segment with the Judgment Day. Oh, we know the history behind it. So I do think there's a little bit of, I guess, detaching.
Yeah.
For lack of better terms, that both Damian and Rhea can do, especially after getting this win. It's like, if these child, Judgment Day, I'm calling them children because of just size perspective between the other two. It's like, if these little kids are just going to be bothering you, just like, fine, at some point you got to put your foot down and like, knock them out the way. But I'd rather Rhea kind of get back to business. Same thing with Damian. I want to get you, I'd rather see you get back to business.
Yeah.
So that's my thoughts for Bash in Berlin. Did you have anything else before we move on to the second PLE that I lost?
No, that's fine. Let's move over to No Mercy. You can start this one.
No Mercy.
Yeah, you start this one.
So I lost 3-3. You won 4-2 on the picks. I will say I did not list anything here. I don't think I did. So I guess I'll just kind of go off the cuff. Jada Parker, Roxanne Perez was really dope. Again, I think the same thing that we talked about last week, where it's like, we know Jada's not going to win, but what we want to see from Jada is to solidify herself and being like a threatening champion. I think she did that. But then obviously it kind of also got overshadowed by Julia debuting. So overall, I would put that as a primo because I think it just did what it was supposed to do. I think it did everything for Roxanne, for Jada Parker, and then I also think it got the hype ready for the next kind of rivalry. We'll see what happens when Stephanie Vaquer debuts. Like, maybe is there a triple threat coming down the way? Who knows? But I'll start with that and say I'll put that on my primo.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this whole show was just great, and it is not an exaggeration for me to put all four of these things in primo. Like, watching this show, honestly, felt like, I mean, I guess we are black and gold again, but it's like I really feel the black and gold days of like Shinsuke, Robert Roode, you know what I mean, yeah. Becky Lynch, like all these fucking amazing superstars, and like it felt like every bit is real. But yeah, Jada Parker and Roxanne was great. I think it is just another one of those stepping stone matches. I guess that's the best way to put it, because I don't think there's any way that she's probably going to go up without. She's not going to get called up without winning that championship at some point, because she's just way too over and has way too much charisma already. So she will hold some gold, if not that gold. I mean, she's clearly slotted in that division, but I could see some great booking for her down the road. Like, honestly. Yeah, that's what I have for that. So next I got Ethan Page, All Ego, retaining versus Joe Hendry.
Yeah.
I was hoping for the booking, dog. Huh?
I'm so disappointed.
Hey, I was hoping for the booking, seriously. because I was just like, hey, I was all in with you. Like, seriously, I'm like, is this man about
If I
to bring
wasn't
back
so
the
petty,
TNA?
I'd put this in Reggie. Cause
Yeah, yeah.
if I wasn't so petty, I'd put this in Reggie.
Right.
Because I'm like, I can't believe in Joe Hendry anymore. I put all my belief in there. How am I gonna believe now? I can't believe.
I mean, we didn't believe that Trick Williams would lose the NXT title and then all of a sudden turn into a standard HP ref out there getting bumped and fucking dying when you're a former NXT champion. Like, when I did not see that coming, because I'm just like, that's the whole point of a special guest referee, is like your awareness in the ring. Like,
right.
You know what I mean? I just thought
I've
that
never
was
seen an actual wrestler get knocked out and have a regular referee come into the match and count the 1, 2, 3.
yeah.
Like,
And I was like, so that's also why I was primo, because the spot, it's a very unique spot of him, Ethan Page hitting Ego's edge and then getting the 1, 2 and Trick sliding under. Perfect timing, way better than Tongaloa could ever dream of. But the drama of that was just great. Ridiculous spot. Loved it. But yeah, we're still in the Ego era. I still believe in Joe Hendry. He just got screwed. I mean, not screwed, but he just fell to heel tactics. That's all it was. It was standard heel tactics at the end of the day. It was, for a heel, a clean match. So
I will believe, but I will still believe, but that WWE, man, they can't do it. They shan't do it. They will never allow somebody to get some shine on their show. They gave Joe Hendry too much shine. He was like, "Nah, you not taking our title away from me." That's awesome. Lame. Shawn Michaels, you a lame.
Hey, not for nothing. We haven't said this at all. I think we'll both agree on this. I'm gonna say this is a presidential, just overall, because we've been living in it. Just like the real life, finally TNA and WWE relationship is I mean, that's presidential, and I think we agree on that. That's something I've been waiting on my whole life, and not even just specifically TNA, but just
the level
just
and
other
extent
companies.
to which they're doing it. Yeah, I'll give you that.
Yeah, just to when Zach Wentz came out, he's holding the X Division title, because it did feel like a one-off with oh my goodness, I forget her name. Women's champ, or Jordan Grace. It felt like a one-off, because they were just building that for the pay-per-view series. But it's like, all right, we're getting the smaller titles. Like, that's cool. You know what I mean? So, and acknowledging it and stuff like that. So that's a presidential. But
I mean, the fact that you got someone like me who just watches a lot more WWE than most wrestling companies, and I'm like, nah, bro, take our title. Take our title. I'm like, you're doing something, right? You're doing something. So
you would throw a wrench into the machine for real.
Blow it up.
Yeah.
Blow it up.
You can have Invasion 2.0. Invasion 2.0 of TNA and NXT. Like, come on.
I bet
and
you
with Shawn Michaels
WWE
and Triple
person
H
that was listening to our booking was like, this is really good. But if I present this to Shawn or Triple H, I might get fired.
Yeah. Okay. That's a possibility.
Trust me, I want to see TNA versus the NXT War Games. But your booking went a little too far, Samson. We can't have our TV. We can't have our main belt on another show. Come on now.
Nah, can't do it,
Samson. But I will put that as because one thing I want to get with Ethan Page. You know how we have the "You Deserve It" chants.
Mm-hmm.
We need to come up with the chant for Ethan Page. I don't know how it's gonna rhythmically sound, but it has to be like "You don't deserve it."
Yeah. Okay.
If just to keep stabbing at his ego, just keep up the chants like "You don't deserve it."
Yeah.
And he's like, "What do you mean?"
Changing the cadence.
Everybody.
For him.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, I won this title fair and square. I've defended it fair and square. You don't deserve it. So I will put that again, my pettiness is just gonna make it. I'm gonna leave it at mid because of my pettiness.
I mean, granted, I haven't cashed in.
Tony, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I haven't cashed in any oh, like I won this pay-per-view cycle and you got to give me props or whatever. We haven't decided what the victory stuff is going to be
no, we
yet.
gotta
So
figure out the real. We gotta figure out the real
yeah,
thing because the props
yeah,
is what props am I gonna give you? Then I'm like, yeah, you won.
yeah. I get it. That's fine. We'll figure it out. But I still got to cash that in whenever we figure it out. But next thing I'm gonna go to, I know it's not in Primo. I put it as Shake, but the match was great. But Wesley versus Zachary Wentz. I told you Zach Wentz was winning this match. I'm like,
Yeah.
dog, get Wesley up, get heel Wes up out of here. Get him out of here. It's not working.
That's when I knew I lost the NXT match. Like the prediction battle was when Zach Wentz won. I was like, all right, Joe Henry not winning this.
Yeah.
I was like, all right,
That's not happening.
TNA got their win for tonight. Sorry, Joe, you not winning this.
Yeah.
Again, great match, but I'm like with you, man. Like it again, it's kind of the same faults that I had with AEW, where I'm like, you're kind of going with the easy pickings of being a heel,
Yeah.
and I don't know what true emotional impact, like personal impact, that he feels as a character from his character, as for why he has these issues. It's like even Gunther kind of gets into this issue where it's like anytime Gunther kind of takes like, oh, you're trash, you're lowbrow or whatever it would be, man. It's like you're only saying that because you probably can't get over naturally as a heel.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't have enough
Right.
like character like depth to you outside of like to be a heel specifically outside
To
of
be
like
a heel, like
traditional.
you're not that good, so you gotta have to use this like low hanging fruit. The same again, AEW does the same thing whenever they bring up your family or whatever it may be, or like throw a curse word in there. It's like, oh, like you're just not that good on the mic, so you kind of have to use these crutches to help you kind of get your point across.
Stay stable, yeah. But yeah, because once I know I told you beforehand that if the story felt discombobulated to me as far as his motivation, that's why I was just like, I wasn't behind him just because I was like, nigga, you changing your story up. Like, what is your issue? Like, seriously. So that's what, I know I explained that to you already, but that's what put the battery in my back for Zach Wentz because I was like, nah, dog. Like,
You think
West
he keeps
he being
feuding
a
with the
fuckboy and
Rascals?
he don't even make sense on top of that. So,
Keeps feuding with the Rascals. Like, where does he head to next?
I could see him fucking with them still. Like, I just don't know because the Rascals are number one contenders now. So I guess we can take it there because I had that also on or no, that's on NXT. Sorry, that's skipping ahead. So I could see him interfering, obviously, just because he's the connective tissue for them on the show. So that's like, but I don't know what you're gonna do. So that means that he's gonna have to get some backup or something. Maybe there's a debut somewhere. I don't know. But that's the only other step that I see forward as far as them right now, as far as like making sense.
I could see, again, I'm still stuck on the fact that Obafemi is going to break Wesley's record next month.
Mm-hmm.
I think when the day after Bad Blood. There's no pay-per-view for NXT that weekend, but I just, man, I don't know, but I have a feeling that Wesley, again, on a petty level, is going to be like going to screw Obafemi from breaking that.
Yeah, I mean, they could start putting that over some more, like on commentary, and just put it like more in the forefront of our minds, and be like, "Hey, like he's been so dominant, all this stuff." And then, yeah, that's something out of left field because Obafemi is the one that broke him, honestly, and he was the one, he challenged for the title and lost twice, and or he lost the title, got his rematch and lost again. So he was like, "Oh, I don't know where I go."
And now he can't challenge again.
Yeah,
until Obafemi loses, and so it's like, yo, like if Wesley feels like the only thing that gives him purpose and he can identify himself with is with the North American title, and you want to be held as like the best of all time and this, that, and the third, it's like, what a way to to screw somebody and also cement yourself as a heel with
yeah,
the guy that is 4 days away from breaking your record, and you screw him over. And so on that record book, it's like Wesley 501, Obafemi 597 or whatever it may be, or 497.
yeah.
And it's like, bruh. Obafemi
Yeah,
ain't
I can
going
tell you.
back to stuff. Obafemi ain't started from zero on the North American title. He moving his ass next to the NXT championship. But like,
Straight up.
I'm gonna be tight if I'm Obafemi.
No, absolutely, absolutely. And the other thing with that is like, because we know he would be getting called up. Like, I think he holds the title till he gets called up. And
Yeah.
man, that would just be. I mean, he's not Ethan Page, but he's an egotistical character, Obafemi. Like he backs it up, obviously, but he be talking shit. So it's
Yeah.
like I could see that stretching it out. Like that could be, but that's like technically Obafemi would be playing face in that, but it's hard to imagine that when he outweighs Wesley by 100 pounds for him to like be playing that
Hey,
way. You know what I'm saying?
hey, they can make it work. I have some thoughts on another person from NXT possibly becoming face fairly soon, but we'll wait till we get to the bodega on Tuesday. Um, I did like Obafemi retaining against Tony D'Angelo. I'll probably put that up as my other primo for the show.
Mhm.
Again, Obafemi is just Obafemi. He's a beast, bro. Like
Yeah.
it, it's gonna be very rare that I ever have Obafemi less than a primo. Like that's
Yeah.
just me. So I'll just leave it at that.
And match is exactly what I wanted. I'll keep it short and simple, but the big heavyweight, NXT guys, just big meat slapping meat. That's what it was. And like for them to get their power moves off, it just shows, really how strong they are. Cause I don't know. I mean, they're both clearly over like 260. I don't know exactly what their measurements are, but for, Obafemi to be hitting pop up, power bombs on Tony D'Angelo and D'Angelo's hitting these signature power slams, like with
Mhm.
all the impact in the world, it's like, hey, that shit was believable every time. So, because I'm a huge, Tony D'Angelo family fan. Like
Yeah.
ever since they bailed Chase U out of debt, like ever since they got Chase U out of debt, their doors were about to close, and the family saved Chase U like 2 years ago. I love them for that. So,
Made him an offer he couldn't refuse.
exactly. He made Legado del Fantasma stand in line. You know what I'm saying? Santos Escobar elevated, but he stood in line while he was in NXT. So great match. Your girl, I'll let you lead with it again. Miles, or I said Miles. I don't know. How did I read Kaylani and say Miles just then? Kaylani Jordan retaining against Wendy Chu, the Women's North American Championship.
Yeah, man. Like again, another good match. I probably have this in mid because again, I think it was a little bit expected, but I did like to see what I saw from Wendy True. What I take from the North American Women's Championship, again, especially as Kalani's championship, as we're in Kalani's championship reign, is again, it goes back to what I said when she first won the title. There's a loaded class of women gunning for this title. And
Yeah.
it's a diverse set of women. And I think Kalani, just from like, if you just take her as character, right? It's like she's fairly fit. She's not small, but she's not big. You know what I'm saying? Like she's kind of just
I'd
she's
call her small. I'd call her small.
she's small, but she ain't Sasha.
Isn't she? I would say Sasha, her,
Taller.
freaking Alexa Bliss. Is she taller? Oh,
I
okay.
feel
Well,
like I
sure.
feel like yeah, check this up as I check her height and weight as I continue to
Yeah, go
my
ahead. Go
rant.
ahead.
But no, I mean, I think where I get with Kalani is that with people like Jada, Sol Ruka, Wendy Chu, Tatum Paxley, like there is,
You're right.
um,
She's 5'5". Yeah, she's taller.
yeah, metaphor, like there is just a lot of women with different skill sets, different variety around them. That again, Kalani is like I said, good luck, champ.
Hey,
You know what I'm
Sasha's
saying?
5'5".
Oh, Sasha's 5'5". Well,
Yep.
Sasha looks even smaller. That's crazy.
Yeah, they just look petite,
Yeah,
but they are. So
but Kalani is, like I said, she is when we talk about fighting champs, she is the definition of a fighting champ. Because I'm like, every time I'm like, all right, girl, this is a big task here.
yeah.
Winnie Chu ain't no slouch, especially like this psychotic version of Winnie Chu, right? Same thing.
Mhm.
If she gets in the ring with Sol Ruka, it's like, all right, girl, good luck. This ain't easy. Like nobody's easy. And so for her to kind of go into these battles and then come out winning, it's like, all right, like you're just helping legitimize the title. And so
Yeah.
she's being a great first inaugural NXT Women's North American Champion. So shout out to her. I'll put this up mid rising.
Yeah, after I look at it, I'm like, I enjoyed the match itself a whole lot. I think the match itself was primo, but I didn't factor in, like you said, like the predictability of it. I probably would put this down at mids,
Yeah.
but that's all I would do.
Like I
But
said,
still
it
great
does a
match
good
though.
job. I think there's some things I wish it could have elevated Wendy Chu a little bit more.
hmm Because at the end of it, Tatum Paxley chokes her out after the match.
Yeah.
She comes out and chokes out Wendy Chu. So I'm like, are we getting face Wendy again? Because it's a heel attacking a heel, and that usually triggers, like what the hell is wrong with you, and kind of a face redemption mini arc,
Maybe it might
Because
tease off for Rosemary.
yeah, okay,
Rosemary Tatum Paxley.
hmm
Your
yeah,
last
that's it.
point. Your last point on NXT No Mercy.
The last one. What did I have up here?
Axiom and Nathan Frazier.
Axiom. There we go. Yeah, Axiom and Nathan Frazier defeating Chase U. Did not see the Ridge Holland heel turn coming. So
Yeah, didn't see that either.
so that obviously just throw that one out the window. We both had Chase U retaining because they're so early in the title reign.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ridge Holland went nuts. And I think maybe because what I read that as, like as a fan, is like maybe, I know I said on the last episode, we were appreciative that, he got the title or that they won the title, Chase U. So it's like, I think it might have been actually smart for, Sean to switch him like right in the middle. If this is him, well, not if, he's clearly heel now, but like they're trying to get him to stand on his own again. This is a perfect time to do it. That's like the most I ever cared about with Ridge Holland was last week. And you turn him immediately and make him more interesting. Because also Chase U is like a rotational, faction. So people come in and out of there. So it's like they help you up, help you out and take you back to wrestling school, almost like NXT's, Alpha Academy, basically. And didn't see it coming, but I think it could be good. It could be really good for Ridge Holland just to like, if he wants to go North American champion, hunting or NXT champion hunting, he's a big guy. He doesn't need you don't need any more convincing like in his impact.
Yeah. I agree with you. I did not see the Ridge Holland heel turn coming. I expected it from the other two members of Chase U.
Yeah.
But as you were kind of talking it out, it kind of popped into my head. Like maybe this is a better route to go because I can see. So when Ridge Holland a couple weeks ago, before they won the tag team championships, he said he went up to Ava and basically got the tag team title match, right? And then the two guys, I can't remember their name, that are part of Chase
I'll look them up because I don't know either.
They felt some type of way because they were like, yo, how do you just like skip over us and this, that, and the third? But then Thea Hale was basically siding with Ridge Holland in that situation.
Duke Hudson and Riley Osborne are the other two.
Okay. And so Thea Hale was siding with Ridge Holland at that point. And so I can see it now where maybe this is the breakup of this iteration of Chase U. And we get Thea Hale basically siding with Ridge Holland. We get Duke Hudson and what was my other guy's name?
Riley Osborne.
They are another tag team. And then Andre Chase is basically got to start from scratch and basically figure out how to restart Chase U or just say, screw Chase U. I'm about to start my own thing.
Yeah.
But maybe that's a way that, like, I think there could be some interesting things to play out of this. So I'll leave that mid-rising just because I'm curious to see what happens with this split.
Yep. I think that's it for No Mercy.
That's it for No Mercy, and we're still on Monday. And now we gotta go to the flagship store.
Deep.
Let's start. I'll let you start off with Raw.
yeah, the only primo I had this week was the continuation of the IC title tournament triple threat. So Ilya Dragunov beating Dragon Lee and Dirty Dom
Mhm.
in that match. Seeing, I would have liked Dom to win this. I mean, Ilya Dragunov makes all the sense in the world anyway, but we know that his history with Braun Breaker while he was in pursuit of his IC title, he ended up snapping Ilya in half,
Yeah.
won a match by stoppage. But of course, one half of the Terror Twins, Damian Priest, comes down to chase off Dirty Dom, in the closing seconds of the match. So it becomes basically a one-on-one of Dragon Lee and Ilya Dragunov. And I love Ilya's moveset. I think that's also why he's so over. It's also unique and impactful. And like I said, the good thing about any like signature or finisher move is that it can be done on anyone. And that's exactly what the A-bomb or the H-bomb and Torpedo Moscow are. And I forget Tessitore? That's new on commentary on Raw?
Yeah, Joe Tessitore. Yeah.
Yeah, because when he says, "Oh, he hits him with a big shoulder," but he didn't put any emphasis on it. It's like, all right, yeah. As a super smart fan, I can tell this is your first day because I'm like, that's Torpedo Moscow. He hit him with. That's the finisher. That's Torpedo Moscow. But that's literally the only thing that deflated the match because I would have liked that Mauro Ranallo. Oh my God, Torpedo Moscow! 1, 2, but.
Yeah.
He'll get there.
He doesn't come from like action sports and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, a quick note on Joe Tessitore. I thought he was good for I liked him for the non-wrestling aspect. Like anything that was happening outside of the ring, like anything that had to do with like storylines and stuff, like I thought he did a good job. To your point, when it got to like calling the in-ring action, I'm not gonna say he was terrible. I think it was just the first day.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like if you were to be in the play calling position, if I was in that position, I'm just like him where I'm like, I don't know all the wrestling moves names. I'm gonna be very like basic with it and be like, oh yeah, they did a modified blah 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 blah. And you'd be like, nah, bro, that's the clutch or whatever. I'm like, yeah, okay, it's the same thing. So I think that's just gonna come naturally with time, but I do think the wrestling of it, like not the wrestling, the story arcs and everything as he pushes it, as we'll kind of get into with like the Punk promo. I thought he did a good job. Ilya Dragunov, Dragon Lee, and Dom. Yeah, I mean, again, these are all three great workers in himself. Even Dom. I mean, even Dom really doesn't even need to work, but when he does work, he's just he's really good at it too. But I'm glad Ilya won, right?
Yeah, Ilya won.
I'm glad Ilya won.
The advantage you get for being in the business for 20 years and you're in your prime at 27. So, you just work better than everybody else. But since you bring up the work, like there was one spot when it was one-on-one between Dragon Lee and Ilya Dragunov. And one of Dragon Lee's, signature things he does is like a off the Irish whip, hitting you with a like tilt-a-whirl, head scissor, which they lost balance and botched a move, but like I won't even just say botch because that sounds way worse than it is. But like they mess up, lose their footing, and swimmingly just get right back up. And like 2 seconds later, that exact move that you knew was coming, a sit out power bomb, it came anyway. And even them getting up, even though you could tell it was a mess up, it was convincing in like keeping the kayfabe of the wrestling match going.
Yeah.
So just a statement for a testament to how great they are as wrestlers between those two. Next thing that I had is mid-rising. The best. I mean, when I start you off at Reggie, the only place to go is up, right? So I got Karrion Kross getting in the Miz's head.
I missed this.
You didn't see this?
Yeah.
So Miz is backstage with Kathy Kelly, and she's like, hey, Truth has sent you a present. And Kathy Kelly, is like, hey, Miz, I got a present for you. Truth sent it to me. And he's like, what? He's my tag team partner. Why would he send you a gift? And note one, her answer was great because she's like, well, we're friends. We do TikToks together and stuff. And like, he snatches the box from her and he opens it up and Truth is like, hey, I'm sorry I couldn't be there, but I got you Cleveland Rockies championship belt because I know you from Cleveland and I wanted to cheer you up. He opens it up, they're in Colorado, so they're in Denver in that episode. Yeah. He pulls out a Colorado Rockies, the WWE title belt, the customized ones. And anyway, Karrion Kross, he walks up and he's like, hey, your truth isn't around and you could probably use some backup. And as he walks from one shoulder to the other shoulder and framing, clearly being a devil on the shoulder, if that's what his character seems to be. He's like, hey, remember when that used to be the WWE championship? And then I was like, ooh. I was like, that's better than anything when you said to the New Day. Like, and then you see the Miz, like his eyes twitch. He's good at like the facial reaction. Yeah. So yeah, he definitely got in his head a little bit.
Again, Miz is another one where Miz is another one, just like Randy and KO. They've been neutered.
Yeah.
They've been neutered. Miz has probably one of the greatest promos of all time, and it wasn't even live on television. When he cut down Daniel Bryan on Talking Smack. Mm-hmm. And so it's like, where's that Miz?
Yeah.
Like, I get it. You living life, bro. I get it. You got a fine wife.
You've been living life.
Yeah. You've done everything. But I need that Miz that like that talk his talk.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think there's a level of, hey, especially if we're going into something like Netflix where, they already said that there's going to be a lot more hands off with like, the censoring and some of the storylines. Let some of these people get back in their bag, man. You got some good talkers here.
Yeah, like that. My hand goes up, your mouth goes shut, Miz.
Yeah, man,
like, that's probably my favorite phrase of his that he used to do. Heel Miz.
Miz. We gotta put some respect on his name, especially because like dude's like mid-40s right now. There's only so much time left.
And extra credit to him. I mean, just for me in my childhood, I watched him on Real World, so I knew exactly who he was. I was like Mike Mizanin, like all right, but yeah, that was a great segment. I got that at mid rising just because, like I said, once again, that was the most clear his character seems to be because this is the first thing he's done outside of interact with New Day, and obviously WWE's framing and like production is super intentional. Like he walked from one shoulder to the other to appear that way because that's immediately appeared in my mind. So,
I'm gonna take this one over. Well,
okay,
because I think I'm gonna do a first time ever on the show. I got 3 Reggies.
Cool. Go ahead.
2 of them are connected, but I'll start with the connected. The first one, and again, this goes out to the namesake of my fucking Reggie Award, Adam Pearce.
Mm-hmm.
You bitch ass. You continuously, each and every week. I've given you a break the last couple weeks. It's not like you haven't deserved it, but I've given you a break. Unnecessarily, I've given you a break, Adam Pearce. But guess what? You're back on the Reggie list. And I get it. Like real life, unforeseen circumstances. Bronson Reed gets COVID, so he can't be on the show.
Yeah,
I get it. That was announced, and again, that's real life. Taking it back into, kayfabe, right? That was announced at like noon, like 1 or 2 o'clock. And Adam Pearce puts out this video, like telling everybody Bronson Reed won't be here tonight. He's not medically cleared to wrestle. This, that, and the third. Don't worry. The IC triple threat match is going to happen later tonight. And I'm going to be doing my part up until the show to figure out who we're going to get to replace Bronson Reed in that match. The show starts. He still don't got nobody. My guy, 7 hours. 7 hours, you can't find nobody? Up until the point where he's getting interviewed by either Jackie Redmond or Kathy Kelly. I can't remember which one. And they're like, who are you going to do? He's like, I've been looking, still looking. We're going to find out. Then who the hell walks in? Braun Strowman. And like we talked about last week, we put up the clip on the YouTube channel. I thought Braun Strowman should be out for a few weeks.
Yeah, I did say.
You said if there's anybody, it could be Braun Strowman to come back next week. He came back next week. What did Adam Pearce say? He's like, if you could look me in the eyes and tell me you can wrestle, you can wrestle. Braun Strowman holding his ribs, being like,
he's selling.
I can wrestle. This man goes out and wins. All of that is Reggie. All of it. And I get it. Unforeseen circumstances clearly I'm not arguing with real life. I'm talking about purely just television. All of that is Reggie.
Yeah. I could agree with that for sure. Because there's no way in hell that Braun Strowman should be winning that match. He could be wrestling, but winning that is crazy. So
who was in that match? Like it was hold on, let me see who's in that match just to make sure, because I'm pretty sure
Sheamus and Ludwig Kaiser.
You tell me Sheamus couldn't win that? Like, well, Ludwig, somebody. This man was. We've been doing this tournament for 3 weeks. Like, come on, man. Adam Pearce, continue to suck. You suck. Man, my other Reggie, God said I got 3 this week.
Mm-hmm.
You have this as a mid. Sammy challenging Gunther.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell are we doing here?
I mean, honestly, it makes sense. And it makes sense.
It doesn't. This man,
he's the last man to beat him. He's the last man to beat him. You telling me that's not a story? That is a story. He beat him on the biggest stage at, like, some people would say, the biggest and best show of all time. He beat the most dominant record-setting Intercontinental Champion. You telling me he doesn't?
Since you're higher on this, I'll let you have this. Sam,
I get what you're saying. I'm just
destroyed. I hope there's a Brock Lesnar, John Cena SummerSlam. Like, this is not a story here.
I'm not even saying that, like, I want him to win or anything. I'm saying you got to acknowledge the point of that story. That's all. Like, that story makes sense. That's all I mean. I'm not saying he's gonna win, like, by any means.
I'm just saying, coming off Gunther decisively choking this dude Randy Orton out.
Yeah.
And Gunther standing in the middle of the ring, I don't expect to hear, whoa, whoa. Like, get the hell out of here, bro.
No, you're not going to hear that because he's the champion, so he's going to enter last.
This is stalling.
He's going to enter last, so he won.
I get it makes sense. He's the last. This is stalling.
Yeah.
You have nothing for Gunther. I don't want to see another resilient match between Sammy and Gunther that I saw 2 months ago. Just because the title is different doesn't make it a different match.
Mm-hmm. I get you on that. Like, the repetitive.
At least this close. There's not enough difference between these two characters that this match has any weight. Just because you beat him for the IC title don't mean anything.
That's crazy. No, that's hyperbole. That's hyperbole. It means nothing. Because we're talking about MK fame. That means something. It doesn't mean anything that you beat the longest reigning Intercontinental Champion at WrestleMania.
Yes, in kayfabe. Yes, I'm talking about in kayfabe.
Okay.
In kayfabe. Yeah, you're right. Outside of kayfabe, come on now. We knew why Gunther was dropping that title.
Yeah, of course. But he had the face off with Brock the year before at Royal Rumble, so we knew he was on a rocket.
That was this. I will. It is barely Reggie. It's just, I put it. It could be mid, but I put it in Reggie because I'm just like, who asked for this?
Yeah.
Like, that's just like,
I mean, it's just dependable hands.
Stalling. It feels like it's stalling, and we're going backwards. This doesn't feel like forward momentum for Gunther. This feels like I'm going backwards. There's got to be some other challengers than Sammy. It's like Sammy's almost like Kevin Owens. It's like, bro, we know you're not gonna win this. But the same way Kevin got fight Kevin Owens or fight Kevin or whatever it is, whatever, I don't know. Same thing. Sammy with this fucking diamond level resilience badge. It's like, you're gonna make us think you're not going to win. We already seen this match. You're not going to do it. In the middle of October, you are not going to win the championship off of Gunther. I'm sorry.
No, that's not happening.
So that's why I got that on Reggie. So first time ever, 3 Reggies in one show.
And I'll continue with the Reggie stream theme, excuse me, because I had a Reggie myself, and it was the Unholy Union beating Damage Control in what seems to be a #1 contenders match for the tag team titles when they just lost them to Bianca and Jade. Mm-hmm. And not to mention, like, also on top of that, because for me, going into this match, it's like, all right, obvious, Damage Control is winning this because you just beat Alba Fire and Isla Dawn. You know what I mean? So, and everybody loves Damage Control anyway. For the tag team champions to be sitting ringside, and, you know, as that always happens, whenever you have champions sitting ringside on commentary, there's going to be a body that gets thrown into them, you know, for disrespectful reasons. But Jade literally squares up and hits Io in the mouth. The ref is literally leaning outside of the ring, like looking through between the second and third rope. And I'm like, am I supposed to just believe he didn't see that when he's looking straight at them? And I'm like, they win. Immediately when I saw that, I was like, they won. And no disqualification at all. I'm like, what are the rules? What are the rules here? Because Jade, they got nothing, and they have no involvement in this match, and she literally just punched her in the mouth and threw her in the ring. All right. All right. Ref, you suck. Like, and on top of that, I just didn't want, I mean, we say rematch clauses aren't a thing, but yeah, I guess you got to earn your shot.
Just bring it back at this point.
Whatever.
They should bring it back at this point.
Yeah, so that's why that's in Reggie for me.
I can understand that. I can understand
that. Ref,
AEW had a bad. I wouldn't say a botch because it seemed intentional, but there was somebody who had their foot under the ropes in one of their matches. I can't remember. Mm-hmm. And the ref, like, she already like called the match and told him to ring the bell, but like as she was walking, she walked over his foot that was clearly under the ropes.
Yeah,
and it's like, what are we doing here?
That's a rope break. that's 101. Shoulders down, like inside the ring, no contact with the ropes. All right. But anyway,
anything else we want to talk about? We talked, like I said, probably my best thing on here was the promo from Drew and CM Punk.
Yeah.
I'll probably put that in primo. Like I said, I do think some of it's just like you're stretching it. It doesn't feel too bad, but you're stretching it a little bit. I thought it was a little corny that like afterwards, after like, you know, Drew breaks the, you know, the bracelet and stuffs all the beads. CM Punk posted a picture on Instagram, on Twitter saying that like, oh, that wasn't the real one. I still got the real one right here.
Did he? That's dumb as hell. That's dumb as hell. Like,
that was a prop. We got him. I still got the real one right here. And I'm like, bro, why? Why?
Nah, he shouldn't have that anymore. Like, he claymored you in the face 3 times, and the last one was with the beads in your mouth. So, I mean,
but, I like the, you know, I like the. They do seem like there is tension. That's the thing. Like, it doesn't feel like they're just kind of like, some of it feels like TV written wise, and then some of it also feels like there's some genuine like tension between these two. So I think that's why the enjoyment kind of keeps me there rather than like something like the Judgment Day where it's like, y'all all are friends and y'all just trying to put each other over.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So,
I mean, honestly, CM Punk needs to get a restraining order against Drew McIntyre at this point, because how many times has he been beat down by him? At least he got beat down at home in Chicago, like in SmackDown when he was on SmackDown that one time.
Yeah.
And Drew like dragged his ass to the ring. And that's a good question. Like, what do you think is the over-under on Claymores to CM Punk this entire time? Like, just total number, like in this feud. I'm pretty sure it's somewhere around like
6?
10? 10? Oh. Does that sound crazy? Does that sound crazy?
I would go under.
Under on that? Yeah, I think that's probably too high.
Because like you got to remember,
like
Punk hadn't been able to take a bump for like 6 months.
True. Yeah. Yeah, that's way too high. You're right. Put that over under at like 6.5 or 7, something like that. But that's all I had for Raw, except for I guess once again the continuation of the Terror Twins Judgment Day.
Yeah. You want to talk about that for
Yeah,
a
just
second?
touch on it. Rhea started the show and talked about victory and all that stuff and focusing on getting what's hers back because she pinned the women's champion. And of course she gets jumped. And as I keep on wanting to say Alexa. God, Liv. And when Liv jumps her leg gets tangled up in the ropes, Rhea's leg, and they just start hitting the crap out of her knee. I personally wanted to see the steel chair come out, like put her out. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that would have been awesome. But it's just the standard kicking and punching, and like she's hobbling later in the show. That just feeds into, the main event was Judgment Day, the actual champions, Finn Balor and JD McDonough versus Jey Uso and Damian Priest, which they won. So I thought that it was more of like a big deal that they should have put over the fact that they beat the tag team champions. That's my only thing that I thought was a misstep, but like an omission that I thought was pretty important. Because like every time you beat any champion, I think it should be acknowledged. Like you go up in the rankings regardless.
Yeah.
So that was the last
quality stuff. Quality stuff here. I'll probably put that in shake.
Yeah.
But now we're finally done with Monday.
Finally. Only an hour 15 in.
An hour and 15 minutes. We're finally done with Monday. Let's move over to Tuesday.
Hang in there, viewers. This will not be a 6-hour show. It will not be.
And before we get into the bodega, there were some. This actually came out Monday, so this is a bit of time jump news, but it is current event for today on Tuesday. Did you check out the Trick Williams dropped a diss track to Pete Dunne?
I saw that he dropped it. I did not listen to it, but I did see that it happened.
I would take the time to listen to it. It's cheesy, funny, but kind of good. Yeah, it's definitely that good and bad territory. The hook in it kind of keeps me. It's been stuck in my head because he's like, "You can't beat me, Petey. You want to beat me if you want to beat me, Petey." And then he does it over I can't think. It's like a 50 Cent song. Is it? What beat is that? I'm trying to figure out what beat. I can't remember that beat.
That's some New York stuff though. That definitely sounds like some Little Kim or like 50 that era for sure. Look what you done made me do.
It sounds like some 50. I can't remember. That's not 50. Either 50 or Fat Joe. Nah. I can't think of the sample right now, and that's slacking on me. But what do you think of the diss?
I think I will listen to it later, but just hearing that little snippet already, I'm just like, yeah, I'm sure it's corny, but that's the exact skill level that you want for wrestling. It's just a vignette, you know what I mean? So
it is funny because there's a lot of NXT wrestlers in there. He obviously has his girl in there. What is the
Dakota Jackson is in it. Lash Legend is in it.
Yeah, Tony D'Angelo's in it.
Oh, is he?
And I'm like, why is Tony D'Angelo in this?
I see Pete Dunne put up any NXT training in that video.
Yeah,
it's on
site. Yeah, Nikita Lyons is in it. I'm like, you hurt. Like, what are you doing?
It's on site. It's crazy. Like, he really hurt his feelings with that.
Oh, yeah, man. Like, Pete Dunne. And there's a lot of people online that were talking about, like, Pete Dunne needs to come out with a diss track back. And it's good. It's funny. I find it funny out of all of it. It's corny, but I find it funny and entertaining. So I'll definitely spend the time if I was you to check out the diss track.
No, I will.
But let's get into the bodega. I do not have the card up in front of me, so as I do that, I'll let you start it off.
Yeah, I got honestly Primo once again. I mean, debuts are like. This is the only thing that I had as Primo was Julia debut in NXT. I know she came out at No Mercy, but I think NXT has the more intimate, indie feel, obviously. So it's just a different feeling coming into a stadium versus like your home of NXT. So, her music, it's like Bobby Roode's Glorious. It goes into like. it's definitely, I'm not gonna say S tier, but I'll say A tier off rip for sure. Like, I love her music. She carries herself like a superstar. She's barely said anything except for challenging Roxanne in that promo at the end of the show. But Roxanne said all the
really
usual
corny.
things. Wait, say again?
I thought it was really corny. She was like, me, you, CW. And it's like, Jesus.
Yeah. I think that's partially because I have heard her in a, I don't know if it was an interview or just some she was talking. She's way better. She has a way better English than some of
It's
the
not
other
even her English.
superstars.
It was more of the tease of CW.
Oh, okay, that's what made it corny. Oh, yeah.
That's what made it corny. It was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's not her how she said it. It's just the fact that
Oh,
you
okay.
mentioned the CW and like, we're gonna be on a new network next
And
week.
it's like, bro, I don't care about that at all. Like, you can just say next week. But you got to make it clear to all the fans, hey, we moving next week. But the next thing I had up here, that's the only promo for the show that I have. But the Rascals qualifying or winning the number 1 contendership for the tag team titles over Gallus and Hank and Tank, which I don't know if I've seen Hank and Tank before. Have you seen Hank and Tank?
I haven't seen them, but I'm familiar with them, like their names. Yeah.
Okay, because when they were in this match, like I didn't think they were local enhancement talent, but I was really thinking like, was this their debut? Like they didn't even like say anything about these guys. Like, so I definitely did not expect them to get as much offense as they did in. They clearly have like a very heavy machinery kind of gimmick. You know, they're both big guys, you know, 260, 270, something like that, powerhouses. And yeah, the Rascals and their high flying selves, they pulled out the dub. Gallus, it looked like, I thought Joe Coffey was going to win that. He hit his finisher, that 360 clothesline, the best of the bells. So I thought it was over. But then he's going for the pin, and you get both of the Rascals diving at the same time. High flyer shit. And once they take advantage, Zach Wentz, he hits his it was the high flying win, but I love his finisher, the UFO. It's just like he runs into the turnbuckle and it's just like not backflipping. You know, Sol Ruka has that backflipping or inverted RKO. His is like I guess it's kind of like not a whisper in the wind. What would that be? It's like a Phoenix Splash RKO because he's doing a backflip and spinning at the same time and grabs your head. So, but watching him do that, I was like, God damn, like, yeah, that'll put somebody down. So good stuff. And TNA is here to take over, at least maybe the Rascals specifically. The Rascals are here to take over. TNA, they got some talent in there.
Yeah. That's gonna be a good match. The Rascals versus Axiom and Nathan Frazier for the tag titles. So that's gonna be interesting.
That'll be the high flying, exactly what you want to see, diving match. You know.
Yeah. You said that's what was that, mid rising?
Mid rising.
Okay. I'm going to go with my first pick. I'm gonna go with Jada Parker beating Jasmine Nix as a mid rising. Mostly because of the after the match sequence when Jada Parker was getting jumped by Fatal Attraction or Fatal Influence.
Yeah, Influence, yeah.
I was like, is Jada Parker becoming a face?
I think, yeah.
It felt like a face kind of like situation. Where it's like, you know, she was getting jumped, she fought back, she stood tall, stuff like that. So I was like, are we doing some, you know, maybe not full on face? Like, I'm not saying she's gonna be like Kalani face, but are we realizing that like there's a lot of momentum and fan, you know, energy around Jada Parker that like I don't think she needs to be like a baby face, but she could be a anti-hero face.
Yeah, absolutely. I could definitely see that. Like, I mean, just for anti-hero's sake, CM Punk, you know what I mean? Like, he's the definition of anti-hero. Him, Moxley, you know what I mean? Like, they can flip on a dime, which I agree that I've been reading her as heel, but it seems to like that heel character was probably just more so arrogance, like that
Yeah.
made us be like, oh, this is a bad girl. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But it's like, nah, she's just extremely confident and she backs it up. So it's like, I think that's where that momentum is coming from, like as far as her character refinement.
Yeah. So again, that's where I'm like, I'm intrigued to see where it happens. That's why I got that at mid rising.
Yeah.
Um, other thing I want to call out, like I just said that it'd probably be very hard for me to put Obafemi anywhere besides Primo, but I'll put Obafemi beating Channing Stacks Lorenzo as mid, just because again, it's Obafemi doing Obafemi, man. He looking
Yeah.
good, bro. Yeah, dude's just so good. And I like the way how he finished it off and then went on the pinfall. He was looking straight dead eyes to Tony D'Angelo.
Mhm.
So seems like we might get some get back on that in the near future. So both of those I really enjoyed. Um
Did you
I'll
also enjoy him not respecting women earlier in the show?
who?
I forget her name, but she's part of Tony, the family, the woman that's in the family.
Oh,
And
I missed
she's,
that part. I
oh,
missed
yeah.
that part.
And then he says, you know, some women, or in some cultures, women are expected to be seen, not heard. I was just like, yo, the misogyny. Like,
Oh wow. Did not
yo,
catch that. Did not catch that.
yeah,
All right,
yeah.
Obafemi. We
No,
need to dig
he's an
into
asshole.
some counseling.
Yeah. Uh, the last thing I had on here for the show was Mid's standard stable. Trick and Pete Dunne getting their match again, but
Yeah.
ending in a double countout. So, if
How do you feel
anything,
about that?
I mean, I personally like. I'm glad you asked this question because I personally like a double countout and a, you know, AEW using like the time limit, like
Mhm.
just as part of storyline. Like,
Yeah.
don't have it happen unless you know you can build something off of that or you plan to do that.
Yeah.
Because a double count out to me, that tells me falls count anywhere match. That's all that says.
Yeah.
So, and we know that this is a rivalry that they've been brewing up. They've been attacking each other. You know what I'm saying? Trick cost Pete Dunne a chance at the title, hit him with that trick knee. Like it goes back. So yeah, they need to get their anger out. That's all it is. And they were so destructive that neither one of them could stand. I doubt they bring back a last man standing match in NXT. So we'll just call it Falls Count Anywhere or however they want to say.
They
No,
had a last man standing match.
have they had one?
I don't know if they had one at NXT, but like it's not like they last man standing matches be on WWE.
I'm just wondering. I'll just look that up real quick. When is the last man
I
standing?
feel like we recently had one, like within like the last year or two. But
Hmm.
I the reason I asked the question about how do you feel about the double countout, I don't mind double countouts. I didn't like how this one kind of played out. I thought the
Yeah.
double countout happened a little too quick.
Okay.
And I think it's more a personal style and taste because they were on the the guardrails outside by the commentary, and then they do a what do you call it? They like
Russian leg sweep. Russian leg
yeah,
sweep. Yeah. Into the,
Russian leg
yeah.
sweep into the table, and then 2 seconds afterwards, the ref already had counted to 10.
Yeah.
And then had called a double count out. And so again, more for how my style would have been and how I like double countouts. I like the aspect of like, I wish the ref was at like 5 on the count.
Yeah.
Then they went through the table and then they try to crawl into the ring, and neither
Yeah.
of them made it. So I don't mind the double count out. I just wish there would. I wish it just didn't happen as soon as they went into the table, because it
Yeah.
made it feel like watching it. It made it feel like that we were kind of getting through that the Fiend and Seth Rollins in the Hell in a Cell match
Hmm.
when like Seth went through the cage and it was like, oh, we got to call the match off. And it's like, bro, this is a Hell in a Cell match. We don't call no
What are
Hell in
you
a Cell
talking
match.
about?
So that's where I was like, the timing of them calling the 10 count and then them falling, it felt too coordinated. And
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I'd rather have seen that struggle to get into the ring.
Yeah, I can agree with that. And you are right, not last year, but 2 years ago, NXT Roadblock. So that was the most recent one. Already was on NXT. That was Grayson Waller beating LA Knight.
Ah. Yeah.
The last
See,
one
'cause I
that
think
mattered. The last one that mattered. Roman beating Kevin Owens for the Universal title,
that was
January
COVID year.
31st. Yeah,
Yeah.
2021. So
Yeah, that
3
was a good
years since
one.
the main roster.
But that is my only problem with that. It's
Yeah.
just I wish the count out was a little bit more drawn out.
Yeah.
Anything else you wanted to pick up on from
Nah,
NXT?
that was it for NXT for me.
Yeah. I thought it was pretty good show overall.
The whole week has
Pretty
been pretty mid, as a whole. So not in a
Yeah.
bad way, but just like that's
Yeah,
another
I
week of
mean,
wrestling.
it's another week of wrestling. I think, football season's coming back, so like, you're again when we talk about you're not just a wrestling show, you're a television show.
Yeah.
And you're going against the ocean of television, even stuff that is not a direct like what people think are direct competitors, you're still going against. So, it's good quality content. It's good quality content. As we speak about good quality content, and we move into Wednesday, I saw this pop up earlier before AEW
I did as well.
started, and I was like, "Oh, how heartwarming is this? This is so nice." Um, AEW, and this should have been the first step off. And I'm not gonna say I didn't have my guards up as soon as I saw this posted by AEW.
Mhm.
AEW had posted earlier this week. It was a full circle moment for former AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland when he achieved his lifelong goal with the help of Prince King Nana of purchasing back his childhood home. Now, I didn't watch the clip, but obviously you don't need to know more than that. Like, it's pretty dope for this person to buy their own childhood home. And, having a person like Prince Nana with you to also kind of help you get to that moment. Um, very dope. Very dope. Super happy for Swerve to be able to complete this lifelong goal of his. So, before we get into the show, what are your thoughts on Swerve buying his childhood home?
My thoughts are I'm a mark. That's my thought because I saw it earlier before the show also.
Yeah.
And I was in the deep end of the pool already. I was like damn near, I wouldn't say eyes welling, but I was just like, that's where I want to be. You know what I'm saying? Like so inspiring and shit. And also when I did not notice when I first saw this, it was not AEW that posted it, but
Okay.
I saw it from Swerve. So
Okay.
that's where I was like, oh, okay.
So you didn't have that trigger to go off on.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, with Prince Nana there, that was still in my head because I doubt, I'm not saying they're not boys, but like the fact that Prince Nana was out there on like Tacoma and shit, I'm like, what? Did he actually have like a huge hand in this? Like,
Yeah.
like just Prince Nana being there is what put AEW like BS in my head because that's just his guy. So, but other than that, like I was all in on that promo. So
I said
yeah.
I had a little bit of I was like, AEW posting this? But I mean, like, it could just be like Good Samaritan stuff. Like, like our wrestlers are human beings as well, right?
Mhm.
But I had it in my thought. I was like, they gonna do something with this house.
Yeah.
They gonna do something with this house.
I mean, we might as well get there.
We'll get to it. We'll just get to it. And honestly, this is probably the best thing that I've seen the entire week. This is my top shelf.
Yeah.
Because I knew that they were gonna do something with the house. I didn't think they were gonna burn the bitch down.
Yeah, right.
Oh man, I did not think that they were gonna do that. So shout out to them because, like, again, as soon as you see the clip of like, oh, Swerve bought his house, childhood home, you were like, okay, there's going to be some type of thing that is going to happen with this house. We've seen it, like, people invading people's house. Pillman's got a gun. Randy, Triple H, all of that stuff. We ain't never seen somebody's house get burned down.
We have though, because that's the reason I didn't have it in top shelf was because immediately what came to my head was Randy and Bray Wyatt. However, I do agree that this is better than that.
It's like a Shaq.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It was a fact, but in kayfabe, once again, we're working under the kayfabe law. So it's like, I've seen that before already. Not that it's not impactful. It's way better. And on top of that, that's a real house because I agree that the compound was just literally like something that WWE put up. So if anything, the obvious investment, that was a real house that they used. That's awesome. That makes it like top shelf for sure. But that's why I had it in primo. Like, definitely I agree the best thing of the week too, at least as far as like the standard, episodes. Yeah. But just because I have seen that.
It's like, I didn't expect it. That's my thing. Like, I was like, I knew something was going to happen at the house. I just didn't expect that it was going to be like, yeah, we're going to burn down your house.
Yeah, and that's also why I had /good misdirection on here, because that was going towards both, from my eyes. Like I said, the fact that Swerve posted it, not AEW, I didn't know that. So I saw it from Swerve. And on top of that, the camera work, the production of that actual vignette when he's at the house and he's like talking to the camera, like it's just so zoomed in on his face and his shoulders that you don't see, he's in Swerve's house, but you don't see what he's doing. And even the audio mixing was great on that because you hear splashing and without realizing what it is until he gets to the front porch. And like, there's like maybe a second and a half that you see, the gas can, and he's still like pouring it some more and more. And you see, obviously, Swerve losing his mind in the ring. And then the logic is sound for Hangman. Like, everything that he said was valid because he's like, why do I need to come to a contract signing for something that we both know is going to happen? Because I'm like, if you want to talk about the weakest part of like this whole segment, is that Swerve came out. Obviously, you got to give him the music. So that makes sense. Like, for the show, you got to give him the pop. But I ain't never seen a steel cage signing. Like, if there's no title on the line, do you have a signing? I don't think that's a thing. So that's what I was like, yeah, he's right about that. He's like,
I imagine signings are happening all the time. It's just when they decide to actually put them on television.
Yeah, it's like, yo.
Like, Tozawa signs up. Like, R-Truth signed how many contracts for a 24/7 title match?
Yeah, right. At least 111 or some shit, however many it was. So, and then, the production of it was amazing. Him burning it down. Obviously, the last image, I think that's definitely I think that's a more badass image of him sitting in a rocking chair, drinking a beer, as it's the best comparison is Randy and, Bray. Randy just did his, old school pose, raising his arms and stuff in front of the burning compound. But it's like, chilling with a fire behind you. It's like, the meme, like the little white girl, and she's like, everything's fine, and the house is burning down. It's like, that's what I thought. And he's like, yep. He's like, and I have a chance to hurt you? Like, you're all emotional in this video. You've been working so hard. Nah, fuck you, Swerve. Fuck you.
And this is where
I can't be mad at him.
This is where I gotta take it back outside of kayfabe, where I'm like, man, these guys were really great friends.
Yeah.
Hangman is such a good friend. Like, because again, this is where it's like, again, I'm just assuming, but like, I assume that like this is part of like, Swerve is like, hey, I bought my childhood home, but maybe it has like terrible memories, or like my parents still live on that land, but I actually want to build them a new house.
Mm-hmm.
And so like, we're all like, we're all wrestling fans. We're all wrestling, like, just like Cody is like grew up in a wrestling family. It's like Swerve, same thing, right? It's like Hangman, probably the same thing, right? So it's like, it's all understandable. That's a controlled fire. They got the fire department there and everything.
Yeah,
like, hey,
exactly.
We about to burn your house down, and I'm gonna help you, and then we're gonna just build a new house.
Yeah, I gotta get some land. Like.
And so I'm like, y'all some great people. Y'all some great friends, man.
Well, Swerve's just gonna get the insurance for that. Like, you know what I mean? Well, you just took care of it for him. But like, I will say, I gotta get some. Like, there's gotta be some Hangman merch that comes out. Like, for burning Swerve's house down.
Oh, I'm definitely,
like, that's literally his whole thing.
There's definitely going to be a variation of that little burning girl building, like you were just talking about. There's definitely going to be a shirt like that for Hangman.
Definitely. I'd be first in line for that shirt for sure. Like, just like you said, the rocking chair with a beer. Just do the outline, the shadow of him, and a fire in the background. But yeah, best thing this week for sure.
All right. I'll let you Pick up
Yeah.
what you call pick up.
The next best thing on the show was Blackpool Combat Club, Claudio and Wheeler Yuta and Pac, the trios champions, defeating the conglomeration of Kyle O'Reilly, Orange Cassidy, international champion Ospreay. This was, as Wrestle Talk would say, I'm not even going to steal from them. I'll give them their credit. This is just like the flippy dippy match, the multi-man match that like AEW can just put on every week. That you're getting fantastic wrestling just looking at the lineup of these guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So this is in primo. Like whenever you get into like 3-on-3s, and we're not talking about factions, then they're just a placeholder basically. So this was the best match of the night, but it wasn't the best thing of the night, which is why Hangman burning down Swerve's house was. But
yeah,
5 out of 5 wrestling for sure.
What I liked most about this was the fact that the BCC challenged what you call it the
Colorado, what?
Not Colorado, the tag team champs.
Oh yeah, the Young Bucks.
The Young Bucks. They challenged them for the tag team titles. So I'm like, okay, I'd like to see. Has there been a case in AEW where the trios champs and the tag champs are the same faction?
They have not yet. No, they have not done that yet.
That'd be dope.
The closest they've done is just like, Bang Bang Gang, when they had like all 3 of the trios titles. They were unified trios champions because they had all of them. So
they got 3 trios championships.
Ring of Honor, AEW, and one more. I forget.
That's ridiculous.
But yeah, that one was a pink belt.
That is ridiculous. But yeah, I'd like to see the tag team champs and the trios champs belts be all under one house.
Absolutely, because that just that's something they haven't done yet, and that's just like, once again, it's just an extension of a tag team. You talk about a faction that you're just adding one more person, so it's like it's not out of the realm of possibility that like, we're just still better than y'all because we already got the tag team champions as part of this team. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we are literally the best team. Whether you
exactly
2-on-2 or 3-on-3, however you want it.
It don't matter. Exactly. Yeah. Which is why I like Pac being a part of it, because he's not BCC, and I like how they specify that. But he's just a badass wrestler that has a history of multi-man matches and like winning multi-man titles. That's been his strength in AEW, so makes sense. For my other mid, or for the beginning of my mids, I had Okada beating Kyle Fletcher. Kyle Fletcher to me is just another one of these. He's a skinnier, like you just see a guy that's like all the potential in the world. Like I feel like it's just too crowded right now. Like he needs to put on some muscle, and it's like once he's bigger, yada yada, like the sky's the limit for him. Because the match with him and Okada was like being able to hang with one of the best ever, like whether it's in this hemisphere or not. Okada is one of the best wrestlers of all time, and for every bit of like the selling of that, like I thought he killed Kyle Fletcher when he hit him with the Rainmaker, or I should say, Kyle Fletcher looked like he was dead when he hit him with the Rainmaker. And Okada was every bit as the base that you would think he would be, and be healing it up, like going for the Rainmaker pose. Like we all know, like the camera zoom in, zoom out, and then he just lifts up his middle finger, like when you're about to. All right, when I'm about to go, Rainmaker, he goes, "Fuck you guys." So. I'm still not tired of Okada. Like, heel Okada, simple as that. Just use the word bitch, flip us off, hold that title, and like kick people in the nuts. That's all you need. That's got a competent mid-card champion.
Sometimes it's just that simple. You don't need much, You don't need much.
Yeah, exactly. Because this, I would argue, he's holding a title, but it's like he was he's 4-time, 5-time IWGP heavyweight champion, and you could argue that's the hardest title to win, like as far as like the major companies, like just the length of their reigns and the shows that they put on and stuff like that. So he's chillaxing. Like there's no way that Okada is not on cruise control right now and just loving this, because he ain't busting his body up.
Way harder in New Japan right now.
Exactly.
You in America, sunshine,
it's like
Florida half the time and whatnot, just probably working half the schedule that you was working back in Japan. So
It's like Zlatan when he came to the LA Galaxy.
Right.
like that interview when he was on Kimmel, he took out a full page paper like, "Dear Los Angeles, you're welcome." Jimmy Kimmel put that up like on the show. It was awesome. That's a real clip too, a real interview. But yeah,
this dude, I'm saying like this dude eating American food. Like I bet you he take off. Well, he already has his shirt off, but I bet you that dude's gonna look like old school Gunther.
Right? Whenever they stop in New Orleans, I bet you, man. I'm not like, what do you think?
He gonna be on that Zion, that Zion.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, what do you think the taste bud cultural shock will be for him once he hits New Orleans? Like, that's a different palette altogether. Like,
eating some beignets, fucking up this whole shit, bro.
I could see Okada having like a dozen beignets as a weakness. You know?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. That dude's gonna be looking like he just did a round of cocaine. He's like, bro, what's wrong? He's like, man, these beignets from Cafe Du Monde. It's so good.
Right. Next mid, I have MJF, or I should say the Daniel Garcia promo at the beginning of the show where he talks about, why he screwed MJF. Mm-hmm. Fuck MJF, all that stuff. And MJF appears in the crowd. He's chilling. He's big chilling with a mic in his hand, watching the show like he's one of us. And, Daniel Garcia, he wants to run the fade. So he runs up there. Security's trying to get in between him. MJF just busts a beer bottle over his head. like it's an old school like bar fight. Knocks him out with a beer bottle and sits him cozy like right next to him while his head is bleeding. And like, I'm going to beat your ass on Sunday. I hope you know that. So good go home segment for sure.
I put this as
just all words.
I put this as my mid rising. I thought it did, to your point, I thought a good job for getting the go home ready, especially with such a short time to hype up this match.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, it's only literally 3 events. It's All In last week, tonight, like this past Wednesday, and then we're here for All Out. So there's not that much storyline to really build upon. I wasn't that big of a fan of Daniel Garcia's promo.
Mm-hmm.
I think between the two of them, and I think it's not so much Daniel Garcia, is kind of to my point from like I mentioned the week before, where it's just like everybody feels like it's the same promo.
Mm-hmm.
Like as far as just like, the tone and which it comes off with. That's why if anything that really picked up for me was MJF, because again, he just came at it from a different way. Yeah. Now, did he still use some crutches? Like he mentioned somebody's family again, just easy. You're not sure if your heel shit's working. Here's a crutch. Talk about somebody's family.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a little bit annoying, but the way he was saying his promo, I thought was really good and really got the heat. Really got the heat built up that I was like, okay, I'm looking forward to this MJF Daniel Garcia match this weekend. So I'll have that in mid rising because for the short amount of time that they have been able to build a rivalry, I thought they've done a pretty good job.
Yeah.
Not a rivalry, but the juice for the story.
Mm-hmm.
It
is pretty interesting to think about it because literally, like, I see All Out. All Out is just All In Part 2 or the fallout of All In, right? Since they're so close together. Like, previous to the All In cycle, that's where the Daniel Garcia getting attacked by MJF came from. And that's what gave way for the international championship run or the American championship run. So you could argue that they had this in the tuck, or not argue. They definitely did have it in the tuck. It was in the writing for sure. But like, just how seamless it seems to be, like, transferring from one story into another, even though those stories are connected. I admire that because it came off of like MJF up to that point was still face. And then he's like, no, I'm going back to being motivated while I'm motivated by hate, baby. And then that's how we get Will Ospreay in that rivalry. So. But yeah, that's all I had to say about that. The last thing was Jamie Hayter squashing Robin Renegade. That's just in the shake for me. Just Jamie Hayter fan. She was former AEW women's championship, or women's champion. So I'm sure it'll be like she'll be in the picture sooner than later, I'm sure, whenever she gets her heat built back up.
Okay, okay. I had one shake, and I'm bringing it up because I just want to make sure that I got the name correct and I'm not messing it up. But it's John Moxley, and he
Mm.
came out with
Marina Shafir.
Marina Shafir,
Hmm.
and it was more so. I'm just curious. So it's like that I like the setup between them. I thought like when she was coming out with him from like, they kind of had like their backstage walk outside to the front of the ring and stuff like that. I was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, this looks good.
Hmm.
Yeah, y'all intimidating." Um I like where it's headed. I'm just a little confused. I'm sure there are some, some background storyline context that might fill in some of the gaps. I'm just a little confused as like John Moxley comes back last week, he talks about this is not your company anymore. But the whole time he's also calling out Darby Allin.
Yeah.
And at this point, I'm like, old man, get off my lawn.
Yeah.
Like, is it, John Mox's not even that old, but like relative to Darby Allin, it's like, bro, why are you messing with him?
Yeah. Like, shouldn't you
Because
have a championship to chase?
exactly. Like, and even the championship that you're going after is what, the TBS championship? Nah, we need you to elevate your ambitions a little bit more to the AEW World Championship.
Yeah.
And so
I think.
I just don't
Oh, go ahead.
understand, like, what is your big old ass relative old ass need to be messing with Darby Allin? Like, you just it's like messing with like, why are you picking on this 16-year-old?
Yeah. Right.
You
It's
just
not
be
your.
40. Just be 40. Stop messing with these 16-year-olds, bro. So I'll have that in my shake because I'm like, maybe there's some context that I'm missing out. It just seems like the grandpa is messing with the young whippersnapper.
Yeah. I think. Well, I didn't have it on there. I didn't have it listed because, if anything, I would have it like as a shake, I guess, because I have it more as like marked incomplete, like an incomplete grade in my head. Because
Yeah.
you're not missing any context. I don't think any of us are. I think
Okay.
it's just, they're still just telling us what the story is, or showing us, because he hasn't. Also, he hasn't been like negative towards Darby as he's called him out. He's just said that he needs to have a conversation with him.
Hmm.
And I think it's just, Moxley, the character that we know is like a badass and probably means a fight. But he's been relatively soft spoken, like bringing him up. So it's just like, all right, what do you want with Darby? Maybe it's a new faction thing. Maybe that's why Marina's there. She's like a new recruit. Like, her aura went up immediately just being standing next to him.
Hmm.
So they still use, British Combat Club for Brian Danielson, Claudio, and Yuta. So maybe it's just a spinoff thing. He's been out for a while, but I don't know. I would think you would have
That's
to
what
like tie in.
that's what I'm gonna leave it at a shake because I'm intrigued about what's happening. I just don't understand what's happening. And the reason I was
No
like,
idea.
maybe
No
there's some
idea.
context because it was the same thing with like the Daniel Garcia. Like I wasn't hyped on Daniel Garcia interfering in the match, but you're like, well, there's at least some background storyline that I'm like, fine. That's my ignorance. So
Yeah.
that's why I was just trying to give myself some grace and be like, is there something I'm missing here between Moxley and Darby Allin? Because right now it just seems like the old guy is just picking on the young kid.
Yeah. I mean, they've had matches before. Maybe they want to bring up some like old shit, like from like a year and a half ago or something that we just forgot about. Maybe.
Yeah. One quick question before we move off from NXT. Are you familiar with Robin Renegade? Because
No.
I thought I saw her on like the highlights, and I'm like, oh, okay, this is maybe like a squash match, which you have it as a squash match, but I thought she was like enhancement talent. But
Yeah.
I'm like, you got some good size. Like she's a pretty like big person, like
Hmm.
size wise, like from a physical standpoint. And I'm like, has she been around? And she's just like like
She's in
you
catering.
know,
Yeah.
okay, so she's
I
not
think. Oh,
like just she's not local
actually,
talent. She's like she's on the roster.
yes, I take that back. I think she's on ROH. That's actually what it is, because ROH is still televised, but they're a different network and they don't actually like
Yeah.
come over that often. But you will see that, obviously, like the
Okay.
biggest one is Mark Briscoe. He's the champion.
Yeah.
But we always
Yeah.
see him on AEW. But that's why we
Yeah,
never see
just from a
Athena.
physical standpoint, I was like, oh, she's impressive in stature. That I'm
Yeah.
like, I can see her being someone, a little bit, legitimate and not
Yeah.
as a squash talent. I wasn't sure if she was just like local talent or if she was just like an actual like, yeah, this is someone that's on the roster. So
All right.
we
Ready
are
to
finally
start the sprint the rest
Thursday.
of the week? We got 2 hours.
Oh my god.
We on
Let's
Thursday.
just start the
Let's
goddamn
sprint
book
through.
of wrestling.
Yeah.
Continue to get through. We still got champions to get through. First thing on the book of wrestling. On September 4th, 1995, we had the first episode of WCW Nitro live from Minneapolis, Minnesota, from the Mall of America. Literally in the mall. I don't know. Have you seen this episode of the first Nitro?
No, I do not believe
No,
so.
it's a pretty tame episode. Like it's a pretty easy, but like I said, the two dopest things that came from the episode was it was literally done inside the Mall of America. Like you literally could just be shopping and then you like walk around to like the center court. You'd be like, oh snap, Ric Flair versus Sting,
Yeah.
whatever, in the middle of the ring.
That's
So
wild.
it's really dope. But then obviously the other big thing that came out was this was the debut of Lex Luger. And this was a pretty big thing because Nitro was live. WCW Raw was not live. And so to see Lex Luger appear on WCW was like, yo, what is going on here? Nobody, we weren't as plugged in with the wrestling news as we are today to know that he had signed a contract. So it just seemed like some WWF guy at the time was just appearing on WCW out the random blue. But little did we know it was all part of a plan. So shout out to WCW and the first Nitro ever, and what effectively would begin the Monday Night Wars.
Yeah. Important moment in history right there. That's funny though that like you said it's in the Mall of America. Just
Literally.
like you said, just yeah, like I'd be shopping and be like, hold on a second, like
Oh, is that Sting?
right?
Is that Roddy Piper? You want to pick up on the next topic?
Yes, yeah. 'Cause I was just looking up real quick, but the next one that I had that we have for the Book of Wrestling is and September 6th, 2014, the first episode of Lucha Underground is taped. Did you ever watch Lucha Underground? Did you come across it?
If I ever did, is probably like randomly as I'm like scrolling through TV and I'm like, oh, yo, those wrestling at night right now. All right, I'll tune it in. And so like I've never watched like a full episode, but I've seen like clips and highlights.
Yeah, there's like so many like superstars that like come from there or like, had time there that I just thought was awesome. Like even like Rey Mysterio, he made an appearance. Like that Rey Mysterio, the WWE absolute first ballot Hall of Famer. You got Johnny Johnny Nitro, the one that changes his name everywhere he goes. He was Johnny Mundo when he was there. That's the first place that I saw Swerve when he was kill shot immediately or back then and he was wearing a mask. Okay. Same thing with Ricochet. Ricochet was Prince Puma. So
yeah,
a lot of people came out of there. Obviously, Hell Luchadors, the young bucks, the Lucha Bros, Penta El Zero, Ray Phoenix, like. So it lived, it died, it had its time, but it made its contribution to wrestling culture, and I loved it. So I didn't watch every episode because I ain't gonna lie, it wasn't the back burner in my mind as far as wrestling is concerned. But whenever, I saw some shit, but it was pretty entertaining.
Dope.
So like that clip a few weeks ago when you were just like you love telenovela wrestling, and it was your Sunday person. That's from Lucha Underground. Like I'm your father. Like what? Like or I'm your mother.
Oh my gosh!
Crazy.
Telenovela wrestling, awesome.
Yeah.
I'll let you wrap it up. I'll let you wrap it up on the.
Yeah, and the last one I got is a year later, almost to the day, today in 2015, WWE announced signing Asuka, which
Hey.
is probably immediately when I put this up here, I'm like, is she my favorite all time, like women's wrestler? Because I don't care about like championship count. T Mac is my guy. I don't give a fuck. Like favorite is favorite. So like if she's not one, then she's two. But I also haven't like I want to like dig in the weeds of like like I need to rewatch some matches before I say that. But
Yeah.
I know for a knee jerk reaction, I could put her in my Mount Rushmore for sure.
I don't blame you. She's super talented. And what's dope is she just signed an extension with WWE this week.
That's crazy. I'm glad, obviously, but I was super pissed last year when she didn't win at Mania.
Yeah.
Because she is getting up there in age, or not getting up. She is up there for especially a women's wrestler. Like, back when we was growing up, women wasn't lasting until their 40s, unless you were Mae Young, because you're just an OG like that. So, but yeah,
She just signed a 5-year extension. Shayna just signed a 5-year extension, and someone
5
else
years.
signed someone else
There's
signed
another
a 5-year
title run in
extension
that
as well.
You got to put another title run in there.
But like we talked about with Asuka, it's like you are also the Japanese ambassador for this international, proliferation that WWE has been doing for the last couple of years. And so when Japan gets a PLE and we up at 4:00 in the morning to watch that joint.
Yeah, it's gonna be early as a bitch. But yeah, that's it for the book of wrestling this week.
Yes, that is. We'll move over to SmackDown, New Boutique. We'll try to keep this quick. I'll let you start off because I still gotta. Again, I've just been so slow on grabbing things this week.
No, that's fine. This is the mid punctuation of the entire week. This was the period on the end of the week that said, "Yep, this week is mid." This whole show was mid for me.
Yeah.
Bloodline maintaining their dominance, winning in a three-way, or not a three-way, excuse me, in a 4-on-4 match in the main event. It was Street Profits and DIY that came in for the save for Cody earlier on in the show, where Cody told Jacob Fatu to step up like to his rightful position or whatever the hell. So, and then the fact that he moved, I was just like, hey, we already know that like you don't do shit unless the tribal chief say. So I think that's already like I thought of that as like a sprinkle of like, not dissension, because he did listen when he told him to stop, but it's like, there's no way Cody tells you to do something and you do it. Like when your tribal chief is in the ring. So
is Cody a master like how good of a tactician or a strategist is Cody? Because do you think that actually worked? Because Solo immediately called him out. He's like, I know what you're trying to do here. You're trying to create some tension in this. It's not gonna happen. And Solo shut that shit down immediately. So I'm like, did you think that was gonna work, Cody?
Yeah, right. I think he knew that he definitely knew he had Street Profits and DIY backing him up. Like they didn't give us any context, but faces just help faces. So like when Bloodline starts surrounding him, I'm like, well, yeah, that's not smart that you would do something like that because that's not going to work. But he had the backup in the tuck though. And he was like, y'all can fight my battles for me. Y'all can take these power bombs. Like I've been fighting these guys. So
what do you think about the steel cage match by Noak Aldis?
I like it. Been a while since a steel cage. I just think it's funny that, timing wise, we're talking about Hangman and Swerve in a steel cage. So
I think it's just primer for a Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Not
because somebody's got to rip off the door or something, right?
The Hell in a Cell is not going to be Solo Cody, but I do think it's just the fact that we see a cage match. Seeing a Hell in a Cell in a couple weeks is not going to be like too startling, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, because obviously it's no DQ regardless. So there's no way that Jacob doesn't come and interfere in that. There's no way.
We'll see what happens. Roman's been off of TV for about 3 weeks now.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Roman showing up. There we go. We got that. So maybe it's Roman. So that'll make sense.
We'll see. We got a whole 3 weeks. We don't need to worry about another pop up for 3 weeks. So we don't need to even predict right now.
Thank goodness. So yeah, that was mid. We got Nia Jax costing Princess Tiffany, against Bayley. So Bayley gets the dub because Nia Jax is there supporting Tiff, but Bayley, she ain't stupid. She sees Nia Jax there and hits a suicide dive on her, which I love I'm glad that they acknowledge the weight class aspect of it, where it's like, yeah, Bayley hits a suicide dive running out of the ring, but Nia outweighs you by 100, so you're not knocking her down. You know what I mean? Yeah. She just stumbles backwards, and you just believe it's like being stunned in like Mortal Kombat or something, basically. But with that, Nia gets on the apron, and she's like, "Hey, I'm gonna fuck this bitch up," basically. And the ref is like, "Hey, you got to get out of here. Why are you doing this, Nia? Like, let your homie take advantage." This is while Tiffany has a backslide count to 5. You can count to 5 on that backslide. Nia distracted her. So it's like, hey, we just sowing those seeds. We already know where it's going. We or at least we know what the story is. We don't know exactly the end point, but hey, we see the story, and I understand. I'm picking up what you're putting down. Yeah. So that's mid standard. Yeah. Mid maintaining.
I got 2 mids on my side of the aisle. My first mid will go to I'll start off easy. My first mid goes off to Austin Theory.
Yeah.
I think he is probably top 5, top 4 sellers of the stunner.
I knew where you were going with that.
All time. The way he sold that stunner, I don't think I've ever seen anything like that. It's, first of all, his stunner sell is very kind of like Scott Hall. Where he kind of like pops up and falls and falls back. But this week he like popped up, fell back onto his ground on his back, but then like kept his legs up to just have it easy to go for the pin. And I was like, that's a really good sell of the stunner. So shout out to Austin Theory for the selling of the stunner.
Not to skip ahead, but I mean, both of us didn't write down champions of the week. And
yeah,
that was one of mine that I was thinking about. I think I'll just say that now. Just call it the Shawn Michaels ridiculous, selling award for the week for sure. Because like you said, the angle, like the way he crunches down and like perfect, lands high on the shoulders safely,
and
but then he uses the core
herself into the pin. I was like, that's really clever.
Yeah, because he just made it easy for Kevin, because Kevin looks like he's in desperation as he does it, but it's just like the perfect setup for him to just lean over and grab him. So A+, S tier selling.
That's why and he's done this for months, like since he got Stone Cold stunnered at WrestleMania. I'm like, this dude's a really good seller of the stunner.
Yeah, he's a good seller in general.
He's a good seller in general. Like we talked about that one time where like, who's the one that like tossed him in the air and then he got like RKO'd and it looked very intentional?
Oh, nah. I know exactly the spot you're talking about, but I forget who that was. Yeah.
Like I think he got stunned and then he popped up from the stunner into
that's what it was.
And that's what it was. It was like, I see what you're going here. It's a little too scripted, but I like the thought.
Exactly. Straight from one into another.
So that was my first mid. My second mid was Andrade, Carmelo Hayes, and LA Knight kind of segment. I wish it was more geared to Carmelo and Andrade and just kind of pushing that best of 7 series that we talked about last week. Mm-hmm. But if we're going to include the U.S. Championship title into it, I'm all for it, even though I feel like they're just going to cancel themselves out and that just allows LA Knight to retain. I'm here for the 3-way.
Yeah, because that's very clearly the picture they were trying to give us was a 3-way match. But like you said, with the Game 7 aspect of it, like as you're talking about, I'm like, could you do a best 2 out of 3 falls 3-way match? That's something. That's a match we have never seen before. So I'm like, really, it's a first 1 of 2 falls, I guess. But
if we're at Game 5 right now, this triple threat is probably Game 5, right?
Oh, okay, sure. If they make it a triple threat, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Game 6 is y'all need to figure this out and pick a number 1 contender. And then game
Yeah.
7 is we'll figure that out when we get to game 7. I leave that. I left that in mid because I'm like, I just like the fact that like I like all 3 of them, and I wish it could have just been kept to just Andrade and Melo. But if we're gonna add LA Knight into it, that's gonna be a fun little standoff there. That's gonna be a fun standoff.
Yeah, they're just making sure that they're making sure that the crowd knows they haven't been putting these matches on for nothing. You know what I'm saying? They're over because of their matches, and it's clearly that they're slotted in the U.S. title, contention. So that's all that was for. But yeah, I'm here. Either way this goes, like I said, if it's a 2 out of 3 falls, if it's a 3-way, whatever, it doesn't matter to me. So it'll be good regardless. Yeah, that was the last mid that I had actually. Also, my shake. I'll start. I thought about putting this in Reggie, but nobody did anything wrong, which is why I didn't put it there. But Apollo Crews beating Giovanni Vinci in 3 seconds.
I'll put that in.
Yeah, I thought about putting it in Reggie, but I was like, nobody, like, that's just the booking. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You just go out there and do your job. So I was just like, okay, sure.
I'm like,
that was literally just
is Giovanni Vinci supposed to be like Andrew Tate?
I mean, aesthetically, that is kind of what it looks like, yeah. Because in NXT, this is basically his NXT gimmick, where he's just like, I drive Lamborghinis, I love fettuccine, I'm real Italian, but I'm a classy Italian. That's basically what it is. It's more so the classy, expensive part, like being a playboy. So yeah, I definitely get the Andrew Tate for sure. Like bald head, glasses, and I got a Ferrari. It's like, cool. And then you come out there and get beat in 3 seconds, which even the only part where
that he still had his jacket on while he had the Crews, like he still had his hands in his sleeves and his arms were behind him. So I'm like, okay, like the legitimacy of the most devastating finisher in all of professional wrestling actually works that time.
Yeah, which it wasn't a school, that was a crucifix pin, but either way, that's also where I said
cousin.
That's also where I halfway had like champions of the, or not champions of the week, but like it would be loser of the week, I guess, with just refs in general. Because I was just like, bro, his arms are in his sleeve. Like, granted, like the timing,
why would you start the match when you know clearly this man is not ready?
He's not ready. He's not even facing his opponent. And like, also shout out to fucking Apollo, because literally, like you said, when Apollo is coming across the ring, his arm is still in his sleeve. It's like the timing of that, because it's literally right when he gets his arm free and like the jacket is still on his arm that he grabs hold of him and pulls him down. So it's like, yeah, he literally had not even a single chance.
Yeah.
And he counts the 3. And I was like, bro, you're a loser. Like, you need to go back. you're on fucking go back to ref developmental. Like, you need to get a ref storyline. He need to go back to NXT and learn how to ref correctly again.
We need to have a wrestler that like literally just gets on the referees.
Yeah.
You know how athletes like LeBron and like certain athletes, they just always are chastising, like, come on, ref, where's the foul? Blah, 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 blah. We needed to do that. We need to have that.
I mean, I know I've told you this before, but I'm with like the refs being characters themselves also, because 9 times out of 10, they're former wrestlers themselves also. If they're not, then fine. But like when you think about like Earl Hebner and stuff, like, I mean, not he's a wrestler, but like those emotional moments, like when I think Earl Hebner, I think Triple H is the very next person I think of like Triple H pushing him in the corner, and he's like pushes Triple H back, and I'm like, he's like, goddamn ref, you listen to me. I'm like, you damn right. Right in the middle of the reign of terror.
Tell him, Earl.
That old man brave as shit. Like, right in the middle of reign of terror, Triple H. But anyway, I'd like that, like this ref has a gambling addiction, so he can fall in the pocket of the heels. This ref has a slightly faster count, sometimes on his 3. Just simple shit. They don't need to be fully formed, but like if they have an interaction like wrestler and like ref before a match, like that could extend things a week or 2 weeks, just in long-term booking. But outside the box stuff. My other shake I had was Chelsea Green beating Michin with Piper's help. This was a match that went, I mean, it could have gone either way. I have them slotted the same way as like you would think of them in the whenever that NXT women's, or not NXT, but whenever the women's United States title comes out, they're right in the middle of that. So just standard match, but love Chelsea Green. There you go. Feels good to see her get wins because I believe Chelsea Green, the character, needs wins more so than Michin, because Michin does feel like she is a more credible threat. Even though she lost to Jada Parker in that Chicago street fight, that's like her most recent, big profile kind of rivalry she's had.
She lost to Nia last week.
Yeah, that's not a right, or I guess that is a rivalry, yeah, because they've had problems in the past, so yeah, that's true. But Michin is a more established threat, where Chelsea Green, even out of kayfabe interview, she's like, she grew up in the Divas era. She loves that. Like, women just like being whiny and like,
yeah,
more so like being damsels in distress than they are as like super awesome wrestlers. Not saying she doesn't appreciate it, but I thought that was interesting how that like helps drive her character. She sees herself as like a diva of like the 2000s, more so than like.
I said, like when I heard her on the Masked Man show, she talked about she wanted to be the next Miz, the women's Miz.
Yeah,
I'm like, that makes sense. Like she's willing to put people over and stuff like that, and just be an entertainer and stuff like that. So that's why you see her randomly on NXT for no reason.
Yeah.
She doesn't need to be out there with Roxanne Perez, but you're only out there because you need to take the punch from Julia.
Yep.
Lay there on the ground while they have their little standoff.
Mm-hmm.
And then this, honestly, it helps more Piper Niven than it does Chelsea Green. Because now we're gonna get Piper Niven versus Michin. And then, I think you add Piper into that and the US Women's Championship bracket.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So again,
for sure.
We're filling out this bracket with some really good competitors. And the same thing that happened with Kalani is going to happen with whoever wins this title, especially if you put in someone on like Kalani, where it's like you feel like they're going to be overwhelmed by every challenger that comes down their way. There's some good opponents in this mid card. You got Naomi. Right now in this bracket, we got Naomi, Michin, and Piper.
Not for nothing, because obviously there would be, or not obviously, and you would hope that there would be a women's intercontinental also. Like they get everything that the men get. So Evolution 2, have your like IC tournament going until there. I'm just saying this is a storyline booking, long-term booking. You declare the tournaments for each team, and then you finalize those with Evolution 2, and it'll be like a dual main event. I'd put the champions on first, the current champions, and then have them close out the show with the women's title finals, basically.
Yeah.
The IC in the US, but that's a good idea. But that's all I got for SmackDown.
Same. I do not have much else from SmackDown. So we can finally reach Saturday, and we got our final pop-up in 4 weeks. AEW All Out. Pretty sure happening on Sunday.
Yep.
I won't be watching it because I'll be 12 hours into football.
Yeah. I won't be watching because I'll be at work.
A pretty loaded card. We got what, 6 matches? No. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 matches.
8 matches.
And then some. So let's go down the card as we have it. And the first match on this card, International Championship match. Will Ospreay, champion, versus Pac.
Will Ospreay.
Yeah, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And like, unless I mean, maybe Ricochet comes in and like causes Pac to lose. Because Pac jumped Ricochet last week, right? Or the other week?
No, they just had a match. He didn't jump him though. Maybe I'm forgetting that.
Oh, maybe he jumped Ospreay. Pac jumped Ospreay and said that to Ricochet that this was his guy.
Yeah.
Remember last week on Dynamite? So Will got the title back.
Yeah, for sure.
Like he's what now? 2-time international champion, or is this only 1 time?
2 times. Yeah, because MJF
he won it
took
when
it
he
off
first came, and then he he ain't dropping the belt 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
So I'm giving him the win here, as you will. AEW. Oh, did you have any more thoughts?
No, no, no. I was about to just say the same thing. The next match.
Okay. AEW World Tag Team Championship match: the Young Bucks versus Blackpool Combat Club. What say you? We literally just talked about wanting to see Blackpool Combat Club have all of the tag belts. Does that
Yeah,
happen?
that's interesting. That's an interesting.
I'm gonna let you go first
I'm
because
gonna
I
go
gotta
with the
figure
Young
out
Bucks.
like where I gotta make my move. As far as like trying to get a dub, you're gonna go Young Bucks.
Yeah, no reason. I mean, I think that this is Blackpool Combat Club is the only other team that's like super. I don't want to just say super established, but I mean like if there was like a heavyweight division of like the S tier is what I'm trying to say. Like they're the other S tier tag team that's like on AEW. I think they're the only ones that can like flip that coin with them and actually win or be
Yeah.
better on a straight up night, or FTR too. Actually, I take that back. So it's those three. Um, so yeah, I don't know. It could be time for the Bucks to drop them. I mean, I ain't mad at it. So, and it would be AEW first, like you said. So
I'm looking through this card and I'm trying to figure out where I could possibly have a chance. It's probably gonna end up costing me the match, but BCC. I can't I can't talk about wanting to see them hold the tag team and the trios championships and then not get it. So
yeah,
I'm sure the Bucks are probably going to win, but I'm gonna go BCC. And maybe it leans into something with Moxley and things of that nature, but I
it
think
could.
they got to roll. I feel like there might be some momentum coming with Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, and Pac.
Mm-hmm.
And you add the tag team championships on them, you add the trio tag team titles on them. It just makes them one of the most legitimate badass groups
For sure. And Pac, yeah,
in
he's
the
not.
company.
He won't be tag team title, but he will be at least there
Still
at
champion.
ringside. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
he will be there at ringside to like give some backup because obviously the elite are heels. So,
Yeah. So I'll go BCC.
yep.
AEW
Uh,
Continental Championship 4-way match.
I mean, it's to be
Okada
determined. So
versus
I'm going
TBD. Do you
Okada.
have an idea who the TBD might be?
I actually do not. I did get this card from CBS.
You gotta go
So
Wikipedia, man.
yeah, okay.
Or maybe it's just the AEW website as well. But people on
Okay.
Wikipedia be mad quick, bro. It is wild. Like you know when like somebody passes away and you be like you literally just got it like 2 minutes ago, and you be like,
Yeah.
oh, like let me look it up. It's Mark Briscoe, Orange Cassidy, and Konosuke Takeshita.
Konosuke Takeshita. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
that's a fucking yeah. Damn, that's a great match right there. Okada, Orange Cassidy, Mark Briscoe, Takeshita. Oh, see, all right. I'm still going Okada, but I'll just give you context. Just that I know, like Konosuke Takeshita, like over in New Japan, but
Mhm.
he was the young Okada, as they said. So like, they're both built the same. They're both amazing in the ring. I think there's a further story with them down the line for sure. Okada versus Takeshita. But in order for that to happen, I'm like, do you need to put the belt on him? Because you need him to stand out somehow, obviously. But yeah,
Okada got
Okada right
beef.
now.
Not Okada. Cassidy got beef with Jericho. Briscoe seems like a guy we just like. I like Mark Briscoe. I like his energy. I think he's another guy that brings in a different type of personality type than
Hmm.
the rest of AEW. So that's why I like Mark Briscoe. He also just seems like a guy that people like and just like it's good. Let's just have him on the card.
Yeah,
type of stuff. So I do think it probably, from my light context, I do think it's pretty much a one-on-one match between Okada and Konosuke. I'm gonna go Okada. There's
yeah.
that's the main. It's the guy, man. Why you spend all that money to have this guy not have a belt?
Hmm.
And he's part of the elite. All this stuff, like it just something's gonna happen that he's gonna retain it. So
Yeah.
Okada.
Um, yeah. And just on your Mark Briscoe point, as you were describing his energy, it put our truth in my head. He's like an R Truth kind of, except he's actually holding a legit championship.
Yeah.
He's not comedy, like super comedy like that, but his character is definitely. Anytime he's getting interviewed, it's always funny. Uh, Chicago Street Fight for the CMLL World Championship. Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander. I'm gonna go Chris.
So this was my other possible chance of like where I could possibly get a W out of this. How long has she held this title, Willow?
I don't know, but my thought process is that it's not one of the dominant, or it's not one of the foremost championships in AEW.
Yeah.
It has been brought on TV before, like the championship is recognized, but
Yeah.
basically only in passing. So it's like Chris Statlander, I'm sure she'll show up with that belt and stuff on television, but it's fine. She can just drop that. I mean, that's my thought process. So, because this rivalry has been happening for a bit. So, and not to mention that it's a street fight. A street fight obviously favors heels. So,
Yeah. But do you think it's like it's hard for me to go against my birthday sis.
yeah, this is where you win it. This is where you win it right here because she retains.
Because part of me is like, Willow's so nice. Is she even like? Could she even handle a street fight?
Yeah, because the other thought to this would be this is the rubber, or not the rubber match, but this is the third one. So it's like, all right, y'all can go. Once again, you can go your different ways. This should be the exclamation point, to end this rivalry for now, or this chapter of the story.
Yeah.
So,
I just feel
Will winning.
like again, this is my ignorance. I just feel like Willow is just too nice of a person. And I'm like, maybe this is the chance where we can finally get the viciousness, the vicious
Mhm.
side out of Willow. And it's just not just like, this happy go lucky. I'm not saying she's Bailey, like the
Mhm.
hugger, but like I feel like you're too nice.
Right.
You too nice. I need to see some grit. And so maybe this is what this match is for. It gets her that grit. So
Mhm.
I'll go Willow.
For sure.
Birthday sis.
MJF versus Daniel Garcia. Oh, good Daniel.
I was gonna go Daniel too, because I'm like, for you to come back and then just immediately lose, like what was the point?
To get it, dedicate your life to fucking up MJF because that could
Okay,
be his story after
you
that.
cost him the title, then like, did you need the match afterwards?
Well, yeah, because I still want to beat the shit out of him. He broke my neck, or he was trying to break my neck. I still gotta beat the shit out of him.
I'm just
So
trying
if
to
he
figure out, like,
loses this match,
I'm saying, like, if he loses, like, what is it? What was
yeah,
the point?
yeah. If he loses, then I agree with you. If he loses, the only way that it makes sense is like, all right, so you're gonna dedicate your life to destroying MJF. If we're continuing it,
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because it doesn't, like you said, it doesn't make sense for him to like come back after 2 months of being put on the shelf by MJF, fuck up his championship. I mean, except for the very real mechanical reason of why you bring that back is just so he's not champion right now, obviously. Um, yeah, that wouldn't make sense for him to show up, cost him the title, and then lose immediately afterwards. And you're bringing up this like stuff from 3 months ago. So that's why I got Daniel Garcia.
I'm going Daniel Garcia as well. Dude got a bottle smashed over his head on Wednesday. He's got to get his lick back.
No, definitely. Yeah, he was bleeding hard way, as they said.
Yeah. TBS Championship. Mercedes Monet. Hikiru Shida. I'm gonna go Mercedes.
Dang, yeah, I'm looking at a lot of retentions on this.
You had a new champion.
Yeah, but it's an off one, you know. But it's fine. Yeah, Mercedes. I will
Who
say,
would you
as
believe
hot as
is her? It's what's her partner's name?
Camille.
Camille. Is she the only true threat? Maybe Britt Baker to knock off Mercedes.
Oh, you mean for the title?
Yeah, like who's a threat?
Oh,
Because I feel like every time we get Mercedes in these matches, it's gonna be like Mercedes, Mercedes, Mercedes. And it's
yeah.
like, when are we actually gonna feel like this person is a legit threat to knock off Mercedes?
hmm Um, well, you're gonna need a star for sure, or at least somebody who's hot in storyline. I mean, Britt
I
is
can see
obviously
Nyla,
legit. Nyla, sure. Um,
Camille,
Camille, yeah, she's adjacent to her. I'm trying to think of like,
Marina
oh, I wish I could
Shafira.
remember her name. She was a young girl from House of Black, Julia Hart. I haven't seen her in a while, but like Julia Hart would be a nice one.
Marina
Uh,
Shafira.
yeah, immediately, just because her aura went up. We didn't even give a damn about her, you know. Haven't seen her on
Mhm.
TV in forever, but just stand her next to Moxley, and it's like, oh yeah, she's badass. She can fight.
Yeah.
So
All
yeah,
right,
that's legit.
there's a little bit in there. Well, I guess we're just
Yeah,
not there yet. We're still building up the rain.
yeah. Uh, AEW World Championship match: Brian Danielson versus Jack Perry. Jungle Boy is not beating Brian Danielson.
I thought you were gonna say Jungle Boy was gonna win.
No,
I
no way.
mean, it would be interesting to see if, because you were saying like we don't know what Moxley's intentions with Jack Perry are. Not Jack
Darby.
Perry. That's Darby Allin. Never mind.
Yeah.
Scratch what I was about to say. This is has nothing to do with what I was about to say. Then, yes,
Okay,
Ryan Danielson, all the way.
for sure. Last match, we could swerve here. Pun intended. Uh, unsanctioned lights out steel cage match. That's a mouthful. I love it. I'm going Hangman.
I'm going Swerve. There's no way you gonna let this man burn your house down and you gonna lose.
This is where, I mean, obviously you were saying this like, get over it, Hangman. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, if you're already there, it's like, bro, you gotta fucking back it up. Like I said, that's probably, and not probably, that is his best promo on Swerve since this rivalry has started. So for whatever that's worth, you know, I really enjoyed it, you know, that whole vignette and everything. So I'm like, all right, back it up, Hangman. Like he's been beating your ass. So that, like, you're motivated. He cut a promo over your child, your sleeping baby. I mean, if you don't win, I mean, we're questioning your manhood, honestly.
And I'm gonna say if Swerve doesn't win, he needs to come out on Dynamite the next week, or maybe even do it during the post conference with uh Tony Khan sitting right next to him. And I need to pull him. I need this man to pull a Kanye 2004 with Mike
Mm.
Myers and be like, Tony Khan don't like black people.
Yeah. Just, oh yeah, that would be awesome. Like, what if Swerve goes into like,
There's no reason he should lose. He burned his house down.
yeah,
There's no reason this man should lose. If he loses, Tony Khan don't like black people. He don't know
it's
how to
funny
write for black
because
people. That's all wrong. Tony Khan's a racist.
he talks about how like him and Danielson is one of his favorite matches all time, and they're both from the same area, you know, Washington. So it's like,
Yeah.
what if he goes the black version of hyper liberal heel? Since he's from Washington, you know, Brian Danielson did it when he was the
Yeah.
Ego World Champion.
Yeah.
So what if it's, yeah, exactly like you said, but he's trying to get policy, like, you know, passed and stuff like that. He's just like, well, he doesn't like black people. We got to get some more representation. And like, maybe he joins the elite. Maybe he tries to join the elite to increase black representation, like in the office or something like that.
Something.
Yeah.
But if he loses this match after getting his house burned down, I'm blaming Tony Khan. He don't know how to write black people. That's
I mean, it's literally,
that's my kayfabe answer. That's my kayfabe answer.
yeah,
Tony Khan
literally
don't like black people.
the like burning the house down. That was such a good vignette that's the only thing that makes me believe that Swerve will win. Is that it's like, damn, because in kayfabe we gotta believe this. So it's like this burned your house down, like, oh, that's tough. But I'm like, I think I'm at where you're at. That's the whole point. I'm picking Hangman. It's like if Hangman doesn't win here, then it's like, all right, bro, like move on. Like I know you said you're already there, so
Yeah.
I think I'm a week behind you on like the tiredness or pay-per-view cycle tiredness of them.
I mean, this has definitely got me hyped up for the match. Again, it's
For
more of
sure.
like when we came out of it, it's like, what is there next if we're gonna keep coming back to it? But again, if you're gonna elevate it up to like this, I'm like, all right, cool, yeah. Like that's a way to elevate it and not just keep running back the same thing.
I just think it's good timing, but it's also bad timing because Swerve just had a great championship reign. And for him to like lose to like 2 pay-per-views back to back, granted, I think he can take that hit. I don't think that's a big deal at all because, in my view, he's an established main eventer for AEW. Like he can challenge for the AEW title at any point in time, as far as I'm concerned.
Mhm.
Like going forward, I just think Hangman probably needs it more. It's been a while since he's been champion, and the smell is like rub off of him a bit, maybe. So that's kind of the logic, I guess. But I'll be happy either way. I'm sure it'll be a great match. Unsanctioned, lights out steel cage. Jesus Christ. All right. All that is supposed to mean unpredictable. Like, that's all that is supposed to mean.
I'm curious to see how the lighting is and how much are you able to see in the match. If it's a lights out match. But that is our predictions for AEW All Out this weekend. We have what? 3 different opinions on matches. I have the BCC over the Bucks. You have the Bucks. I have Willow Nightingale beating Chris Statlander. You have the opposite, and then Swerve and Hangman.
Yeah, you got it this time. There you go.
I hope so. I need one. I can't start the season 0-5, bro.
Man, I'm sitting here thinking like, because I
at least gotta get a tie. I at least
it's gotta
get
be
a
like
tie
60. It's gotta be like not 60. That's a lot. It's gotta be like what, like 30 pay-per-views in a year. We're probably in that range between WWE and AEW.
12. WWE has about 12, and then AEW has about what, like 10?
8 or 10. Okay, I don't know. It feels like a lot though. It's just this is the succession of them, man.
Yeah, that's what it is. The succession of it. All right, let's wrap up this show with our champions of the week. And I'll start off first. Mine is pretty easy. My champion, it's like the name that comes to my top of my head is such a deep cut, but I'll just go with it. I'm gonna give her the Tabby Bonet Jet Setter championship belt to Alicia Taylor because I found out this week she announced Bastion Berlin, Monday Night Raw, NXT, and SmackDown all this week. That's wild.
Yeah, that's a workload right there.
That's wild. I don't know where Raw was this weekend. No, that was in Denver, right?
Yeah, it was Denver.
Where was SmackDown?
Ooh, not quite. I don't remember. I'll look at it though.
Yeah, look up a SmackDown, and then obviously NXT's in Orlando or Tampa, right? I hope she lives in Tampa, and she got to like relax at home during the day on Tuesday, and then just go to the, take a 10-minute drive to the office to do NXT, and then go back home. Because I can't imagine going from Berlin to Denver to Orlando to wherever the hell SmackDown was, all in the same week. Though her Delta miles. She's stacking them. So shout out to her for just be able to travel all around the world like that and be able to kill it on her job as well. So champion of the week, Alicia Taylor.
Yeah, and I covered mine already. I already said it as the Austin Theory, or excuse me, the Shawn Michaels ridiculous selling, champion of the week is going to Austin Theory for the earlier mentioned S tier just sell into, because you don't see a stunner into a pinning combination. That's not a thing that the stunner does. It's not a suplex. So just great job by him.
Yeah.
Being innovative.
All right, Moody. It's another week in the books. We went 2 hours and 40 minutes again. We matched last week's show. It's ridiculous.
Yep.
Next week we got to be shorter than this. It has to be. It technically has to be shorter because there's not as much wrestling content as there was this week or the past couple weeks. The only thing is when we do these recaps, we spend like a whole hour. But again, today we had 3 things. We had to recap Bash Berlin and No Mercy before we even got to Raw.
Yeah, I remember we were at an hour. We were at an hour 15 coming off of Monday, like getting off Monday.
Jesus. So we working on the timing, but thank you for anybody that has been listening to this whole thing from beginning to end. We appreciate y'all, and we'll be back next week with the first double-digit episode of the Wrestling Re-Up podcast, episode 10. Next week, we're gonna recap AEW All Out and all the shenanigans that happen on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, and Dynamite. Moody, where can they find us?
Find us at the Wrestling Re-Up, all socials, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and send us an email at Gmail, the wrestlingre-up@gmail.com. If you want to talk about some booking or whatever, hit us up for absolutely anything. Like, comment, subscribe, help us out in the algorithm. You know how it goes. We just 2 young, handsome black men trying to grind our way through the YouTube vortex.
You know what I'm saying? So that's us. We're done. We got Roy Woods tonight, and then you'll see us on TV because that's a TV special that's being taped. First time we're ever doing that. So we'll spoil all of Roy Woods jokes next week on this week's episode, or next week's episode of the Wrestling Re-Up podcast. We out, y'all. Peace.
All right, y'all.